amount of shit that I have said that is just lost to the ether of the pre-stream nonsense, frankly, is a tragedy.
I mean, what you
Yeah.
just said wasn't, because we're live now, but...
Hi, kids.
Hello. Okay, so we've already done player introduction. This is session 2. I should eventually come up with a more efficient intro like Andrew has, but as we start, I want to launch right into it. For what strengths everybody picked, we're going to look at the ones first. So we're going to sort of revisit what happened at the end of last session in a minute, and we're going to skip forward a few days. And we're going to see what the character is doing now as they prepare to deal with things in the future. So this is your chance to say, over the last 3 or 4 days, my character, for example, has been like hunting down information at the local library about monsters or demons or ghosts. Or my character with another character has been actually trying to track down this thing's footsteps or track where it came from. You understand the idea.
Gotcha.
Other notable information. While you guys are in the town, none of you seem to be able to contact KC recently. They just haven't been around. Whenever you ask people who know them, people that hang out with or talk to, they just haven't seen a trace of them. Since they went home from the school, there just hasn't been an appearance. So, to start off the top, what has Jazz been up to in these resuming 2 or 3 days?
Did we have to talk to the cops or anything, or did people just oh, something happened to the ceiling, not really important?
The cops offered to take an interview with you, but you were allowed to decline.
Okay. Interesting. I think they would have declined then and chosen not to tell the cops that they saw a demon for fear of being institutionalized at that point.
Yeah.
I think Jazz, it's the weekend, right? So the next couple days, Jazz had work. Saturday's a busy day at the movie theater. Although they during the slow periods just leave to go to the record store where it's a record store, right, where Kevin works.
Yes, Kevin has a pretty steady job at the record store.
Okay, yeah. Sometimes she'll just dip out and be like, oh, "I'm going to the record store for an hour. I'll be back soon." And none of the other employees really question it because it's Jazz.
Yeah, the manager doesn't really give a shit so long as it doesn't actually affect anything.
Yeah, I just take my lunch break, a very extra long one, off the site of the actual movie theater.
Yeah,
I think they have been. I meant to message you about this actually, and I totally forgot till just right now. I wanted to see if I think Jazz would start trying to see if they could do magic, well, demons are real, so maybe magic is real too. Maybe I could do magic, and then next time, I'll just magic it away.
Okay.
So I think they've been working on that, investigating, how do you do magic kind of things.
So, roll me. This is sort of outside the bounds of the system, but we're going to do a sort of tiered check where there's no failure because this makes the most sense to me. Roll me brains and just tell me the flat result, and I'll tell you what you find initially from this investigation.
Okay. That's a 7, lucky number 7.
Okay. This isn't the super hard check. I will say getting a 10 will have a very different result, but that's just the nature of a 10 is
if I can spend, just because I know it doesn't really matter, or maybe it will matter, but I do have exactly 3 adversity tokens, and I will spend all of them to make that a 10 if that's going to have a significant effect on the outcome.
Is this a planned roll though? Because can't you just do a 10 regardless if it's your D20?
It's not my D20.
Oh, okay.
No, my D20 is in charm.
Oh, okay.
So I will say this. The significance of it is there are 3 categories of magic you can find that exist. There is demonic and satanic magic that's not necessarily evil, but is based on the idea of invocating greater beings, evil or good, and binding them to your service. There is divine magic, which is the idea of like Christian rituals and incantations, or like classic like banish the evil out. Or there is what some would refer to as the traditional magic, magic that's based around collecting the right herbs, putting it in the right pot, and putting everything together to get a specific effect. Or like folk magic, where you carry around specific wards to defeat the demon. And the extra effect on the 10 is that you are capable enough, and you are quick enough at picking up the reading on this, that you can choose one of these, and you can also make headway into learning some of the rituals or secrets behind it.
Huh.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the folk style magic.
Yeah, folk magic is a good. Yeah. So folk style magic, you quickly learn, is probably less based on the idea of like you are channeling some mystical energy, but more like demons and other mystical entities just have inherent flaws in them, or certain rituals just affect it, And as part of this, I will let you narrate how does Jazz find this. I will let you find one effective ritual to use against the demon, and where you get the resources to make that ritual happen if you need to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, take it away.
So during the next couple of days, outside of work, we find Jazz entering through one of those kind of small towny style bookstores. Like, there's probably going to be like a I don't know what bookstore was really popular in the 90s. Bookman's, I think, maybe going up in the mall. But until that happens, there's still this small town mom and pop bookstore, and we see them like ding into the doorway, and just like looking around till they spy somewhere like in the back. They really have to dig. They read a couple like druidic magic books that are just like a bunch of cult nonsense or poppycock. But somewhere in the back, they spy like this old ass book. It's like, actual real leather, and bound maybe like 1 or 2 centuries ago. That's written partially in Latin, but they actually I'm going to say Spanish instead. But they they're able to, with the help of a dictionary, like translate enough to understand the principles of what the book is saying. And that's where they discover these incantations. I think the one that they notice or realize might be useful here in particular is a ritual involving a particular kind of flower. Anybody want to help me out? What kind of flower? I'm not good with flowers, unfortunately.
I would say
Chrysanthemum,
wolfsbane.
lily.
Sure, we'll say wolfsbane. I like that. So using wolfsbane that is like ground into not like a fine powder, just like flecks, like almost like you would use it on seasoning. You could sprinkle it onto a person or an area to ward off the demon.
Okay. So I'll say as part of that ritual too, I'll let you choose. Would that make them more capable at fighting the demon, or do you think that would make them more resistant to the demon attacking them, finding them? Is this like a defensive or offensive thing?
I think this is definitely a defensive thing.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So wolfsbane does come and derive from nightshade, but as part of this, you also know how to neutralize it, or at least make it mostly harmless.
Okay. Right.
Um.
So there, I'm going to write down in my backpack that I have a bunch of wolfsbane
Okay.
in the book.
And I'm going to skip around a little bit. What do you think Kevin has been doing in his sort of these 3 or 4 days in the resuming background?
So he's been overprotective as hell of his little brother, and like has been insisting on driving Big Sis home from school. Because everyone in the town knows something happened at the school, so it's not that big of a deal that he's doing this. It's just everyone's like, oh, it's you being protective, but he's jumpy, and he probably hasn't worked nights the last couple of nights. He's put in as much work during daylight as he can. What season did we say we were doing this in again? Was it?
It's winter time, so you're like really screwing yourself over.
Yeah, I'm really like limiting, and maybe mom is kind of like putting the pressure on. It's like, hey, you haven't gone out and worked a couple of nights in a row now. Everything, what's going on, and so there's kind of a lot of that pressure mounted.
Old man Jensen said that you could, do some night work.
Yeah, I mean that's basically and then that's also making me think about Elliot's dad. Is he a big enough piece of shit to turn in and plant the evidence? Send man to federal prison. Don't have to work at night with the demons anymore. But would Jazz have shared the whole Wolfsbane protects you from demons thing?
Yeah, I think definitely, and especially if Kevin hasn't been working at night, I imagine they've been hanging out a little bit more since Kevin's like got a little bit more time. So there's probably a scene. Maybe this is like the scene directly after the one where Jazz is in the bookstore, where we're like hanging out at one of our houses. You're doing something, and I've got like the book open in my lap, and I'm like sitting in a very awkward position that only a teenager would ever think is comfortable. I'm flipping through this book. I'm like, this book says I think I can use Wolfsbane on the demon, and it'll like protect you or something. Like you sprinkle it, you crush it down, and you sprinkle it on a person or thing, and it's supposed to like help give you some protectiveness from the demon's energies. Kevin, where can I get Wolfsbane? Do you know this? You know things sometimes.
Let's see what I have.
I would say you would know a local. I will let you say, because of your charm, you would know, just as part of your background, you would know there's a local florist shop who would definitely have this in stock. I think you're somebody in the community who you've definitely done stuff for them, so you'd have good standing there. You might know a local kind of like forager who would have it.
I'd say theres one forager foresty option, but
you don't have
that Algernon kid.
Yeah,
he might know where I could get some.
Yeah, flowers for Algernon. We read that. They've got to know what the hookup on flowers. Absolutely.
Right? They're like a scout or something.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bummed that like I can't just pull an oak staff off and like cast a bolt of something. But I mean, I guess this will get like when we're fighting demons. Like I guess we can't be choosy, right?
We are season 1 of Supernatural, Andrew. We are season 1.
Gotta skip ahead.
But yeah, I mean, I think the flower shop is definitely a good option. But if we want to tie in Algernon, which I think would be nice, I think Algernon doesn't have a pager, do they?
Good question.
Above board, Algernon's rich, just to remind you.
Oh, so Algernon definitely has a pager.
This punk ass has an iPhone. I don't care what year it is. This punk ass has one. Okay, so I mean, I'll talk to my little brother and be like, hey, do you are you in any what do you kids do? Do you do meme chats? Do you is there a Bing? Is there a Bing with Algernon?
Is there an IRC that you are in a lot?
Do you have their
maybe
Hotmail
AOL
account?
chat room?
Are these above board questions?
ASL.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we'll get Algernon's contact info if you have a way that you can be contacted. I'll leave that up to you. But, or quite frankly, Jazz and I'll just show up at your house with my little brother and just be like, what's your last name, Algernon, by the way? What is it?
His last name is Rashid.
Rashid. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Rashid. Hi, Kevin. Listen, Algernon and my little brother are in class together. Algernon might have something in their backpack of, what's my little brother's name? I like Brady. Brady sounds like a little kid. Wait, did I already pick a name for my little brother?
I don't
I
think
don't
We'll
think
stick-
so.
Excellent.
Brady.
Brady it is. Brady accidentally left something in class, and Algernon might have picked it up. Could we just get that real quick? And then just get you alone for a minute and be like, hey, kid, what do you know about Wolfsbane?
You told my parents I took something from your little brother?
No. Little brother definitely left it in your backpack. Right, Brady? That's right. 100%. See? They're great at that age. You can just point them at something and they'll do anything for a Klondike bar. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm a very good older brother.
Wolfsbane. You're talking you're the flower, right? Wolfsbane.
Yes, the flower. Kind of purple.
Yeah. Why?
Look at Jazz. How do you want to break this to the kid?
I need it for protection against the demon.
As soon as you say that, like, Algernon like slams the door shut.
Algernon's parents aren't there, right? Like they've moved away at this point.
No. I like to imagine they're like, oh yeah, you and Algernon have a moment. That's fine. I've fixed your tile. I've fixed a fence at Algernon's house like twice because I'm the cheapest fucking labor in town. They know me. I charge
What they
below
don't know
union
is
rates.
that Jazz broke the fence twice at night.
I like that plan.
Solidarity. I love it.
Yeah, so as soon as you say like demon out loud, Algernon like slams his door shut and like scuttles over to his stereo and like turns it on. Like he pulls you in.
I thought you meant you slammed the door in our face. I was like, bitch ass.
No, he pulls you into his room and like turns on his stereo and is like, you can't say demon in this house. Are you crazy?
Is there a horseshoe over the door? Am I missing something?
They're Jewish. What's the Jewish word for demon?
I think it's golem. Yeah, is it
No,
golem?
no, golem's not a demon. Golem's like helpful or something, right?
Are we thinking jinn? Are we thinking
Golems
jinn?
are like made. No.
Not genie. I don't want to be insensitive. Is it jinn?
No, I think that's like a Arabic thing.
Full
Rashid,
discourse for anyone watching. I am being completely I'm playing an ignorant Midwesterner there. I'm fully aware of golems, jinn, genie, and everything else.
Yeah. Algie just like turns the stereo up a little bit higher, and it's like classical music that just starts busting out of the stereo to drown you out. Okay, so you want Wolfsbane because of the thing we definitely did not see in the school, right?
Sure, if that makes you feel better.
Okay.
We definitely listen to me, Algernon. We definitely did not see anything in the school, and I definitely don't want Wolfsbane to protect us from the thing that we did not see in the school.
Okay. Sure. I've seen some growing, but it's you know it's winter, right?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. Do you ever go out to the woods?
I mean, sometimes,
Dead quiet.
But like you know, like it's winter, right? There's no it doesn't grow in the winter. Nothing really grows in the winter. I mean, maybe a little bit. We have a really good winter here, but like that's definitely a summer plant. Maybe
is it
fall.
only the flowers that you can grind up to make the dust of protection, or is it like the whole plant, root and tuber?
It's the flowers that I need, not the.
You want to find flowers?
I don't want the other parts. Those are poisonous.
I see.
I think.
Algie just like sits on his bed and his like face falls.
Let me consult my book.
Algie sits on the bed and his face falls. This is another thing, right? This is the flowers thing again. You know, I'm never gonna read that stupid book. I'm never gonna read it.
If you guys want to see, flowers. Algernon, do you want to make a check of some kind to see if you'd know where to find them, or they might even be in the winter?
Sure, I will go for that, because if you had not suggested, I would have never thought to, oh yes, flowers and...
I have a custom table, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have you make me a brains check, or you can suggest another check, like a flight, for example, or another if you can make it fit. And if you roll high enough, I'll let you to roll 2d20, and I'll let you choose the 2 different locations it could be in between those 2. And if you roll low enough, I'll just roll a d20, and if it's bad, like horrible, I'm just going to pick. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. Also, in the chat earlier, after I'd figured out that we'd all ended up with intuitive, like, I'd asked if I could take that skill, that this was before all this went happen. At like 6:26, if you blink at that message real fast, I'd ask if I gotta do it with that too, or whatever that helps. Is that plus 3?
Yeah, that's that. It's
All
definitely a place. Yeah. I will say this is what do you call it? This is a DC 10, so this is just above the 9. This isn't me trying to metagame you.
Okay.
But you do get a plus 3 to this because it's right on the border. And this can be a brains if you want, or you can pick another if you really need to.
No.
And this is a planned action, so if you just want to take half, you can.
Well, I can take half. If I take half, it's just like, it's the 10, right? Like, that's...
Yep. And it would be 13 total.
Okay. And what did you say the check was for knowing the 2 places?
It's DC 10 to reach it. H that check.
Okay, yeah, sure, why not? Let's go with that. I don't need a crazy... So yeah,
Right.
Algie's just sits there, and he's like, this is another flowers joke, isn't it?
So,
I've actually never read the book, so...
That was why I thought of you, yes. But you're also like a Boy Scout or something, right?
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time in the woods, right?
Yeah.
Therefore,
Is your campsite a secret to other people? Like, you don't advertise where you camp, right?
I mean, no, but that doesn't mean it's a secret, because stupid Elliot is always out there, and last time... And his like voice gets higher and higher, and like from the other room, you hear his dad, Algernon. Sorry, Dad. But I mean, probably Elliot knows where it's at, but I mean, he's not a demon. He's got that going for him.
Huh.
All right. So I make the check. Then can I just describe the places?
So I'm going to give you a vague idea of 2 locations. But then you can describe those locations, but I'm basically going to say these are 2 barriers to the locations. And you can pick. One of them is it will take a long time to reach there from town. And the other is that getting to the place will involve getting wet.
well, it is wintertime, so that's not the greatest.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, so there is... You know the cemetery that's like here, between here and like it's outside of Stine Falls. Like it's a lot closer to, gosh. I mean, my aunt lives out there. It's like Melbury. Like
no,
go.
It's the old Rasmuth graveyard. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but like
there was a concert out there one time. It was kind of lame, actually.
Yeah, I bet. Like it's a graveyard. Who wants to hold a... Anyway,
well,
they have,
it was
like,
like a goth thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they have like a little like it's not exactly a greenhouse, but it's where they used to like it's like crypts, and there's stuff in there. We used to actually store a lot of stuff in there for the scouts because like we were trying to beautify it one year for somebody's eagle project. But like. And in the end, they ended up doing what everybody else does, and they cleaned up the town. But I can go out there. I'm not going out alone. But no, we're not going there. Nope. Not happening.
Why aren't we going out there? Well, Spain, demon protection.
Yeah, we
demon bad.
I'll go to the graveyard, but I mean it's really far away. But there's also I don't like the lake.
Well, it's wintertime. We're not going to go in the lake.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
It's just there's like a really nice... So you know the lake effect? How like sometimes areas where are near the lake, because of atmospheric pressure and the water off the lake, you'd think it'd be really cold, but it actually stabilizes the.
Algernon.
Yeah.
Come on, let's get to the point.
It's just that I often find stuff. Sometimes it's like preserved, and if the flowers are still intact, nothing really goes there to eat it because they're all getting they get sick because of the chemical plant, but flowers still grow out there, and so they just kind of almost crystallize. It's really cool, and I used to take a lot of photos, but then one time I fell in, and so I don't go out there anymore.
I
Okay.
turn and look
But
at
it's
Kevin.
closer.
So what if you stayed in the car?
You have a car?
And I have a work van that I drive sometimes that I could probably get away with.
Well, then in
for
that
a
case, we
night.
should just go to the graveyard. It's a lot easier to access a graveyard with a car, is all I'm saying. Get into the lake and then down there with the car.
I'm gonna need a good excuse.
Well, I'm okay with going to a graveyard as long as we can get some wolfsbane and then I can sprinkle it on people.
So here's where
Graveyards are. Oh, go ahead.
Here's where the second part is going to come in for your high roll on that. There's going to be a second complication that comes with the graveyard that you now realize, and I'm going to let you choose. However, you don't know it exists yet, but you, the player, are getting this freedom. An entity, not necessarily hostile, a specifically neutral entity, is guarding it for whatever reason. Or going to the graveyard will mean that you are not in town for going to the graveyard will mean that the characters who are there will miss an event in town that would be rather important. So somebody gets attacked, or a passing knowledgeable traveler comes through. That idea, right? They will miss out on a significant event of fortune.
Say above board that I actually don't care whether we go to graveyard or lake, but it's written on Algie's character sheet that he is terrified of lake.
I'm okay with the graveyard. So we have to think of it, or Algernon has to think of another thing that we don't know about that's bad about the place, right?
Yeah, Charlie does. Basically, Charlie's going to choose.
Right.
Is it guarded by something significant, or by going there, will it cause some significant drawback to you by the time you get back?
So we are decided. Y'all are y'all want to go graveyard over lake?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it factors into your thoughts at all, I chose Erasmus because it's a shortening of Erasmus, which is the name of a saint.
Yeah, I figured.
Maybe that factors into your decision.
Yeah, I figured that too. So yeah, Algernon goes, it's just, I don't like the graveyard because sometimes I feel like I'm being watched there, but I mean, I know the place, and that's where we used to store all the stuff, so I really think it's the best idea. Plus, it's winter, it's a lake, and I can't be sure about the flowers at the lake, but I'm pretty sure about the graveyard. And hopefully that was clear that being watched, there's the spirit at that one.
All right.
Okay. So now all we have to do is figure out a way to sneak you out and get to the graveyard. The graveyard is about how.
That's easy. That's no big deal.
You know what? That's very fair. I apologize for impugning it all on the idea
Yeah, they never notice. It's fine. They'll be happy to see you two. Actually, we can just pretend you're like the new twins. It's all right.
Oh, I just get that sudden heart pang a little bit in my chest, like thinking about the new twins just look over at Jazz like.
Jazz looks at you like, what a sad little boy.
Algie still looks like vacantly happy, like he's just like. Eh.
So in the meantime, while you guys plan your caper to the graveyard, we'll see how that goes in a minute. First, I want to know, what has Elliot been doing to prepare for what comes next?
So I think it's interesting that that Jazz was at the bookstore specifically. So I'm gonna say that Elliot at first basically just went home and locked himself in his room and was refusing to come out, because I think you said Elliot has a mechanically significant fear of demons now, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So Elliot just spent the rest of that day just locked in his room, not coming out, not talking to anyone. And I think the next day, normally he would probably hang out in the woods, but I think that he would go specifically to the bookstore. I don't think I've mentioned it to the other players, but Sarah knows that Elliot finds that particular bookstore to be a place of comfort. So I think that Elliot was actually there while Jazz was picking up this book on magic.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that would be interesting. So I don't know, Andrew, do you think it would be more interesting if Elliot made his presence known or just kind of saw you buying this ancient book of magic?
Yeah.
I think, I mean, either one would be fine with me. I think it's a little bit funnier if, despite being on good terms, you were like just creepily watching from a distance.
Okay, if that's the case, I think that I'll say that Elliot saw you buying this particular book but didn't actually say anything at the moment and is kind of like, why is she getting this like ancient book? And I think that he would go up and ask the woman that owns the bookstore like what that was, because I don't think he would have, I imagine this to be kind of like a more modern kind of like, not preppy bookstore, but like probably a place where you wouldn't expect to find a book on ancient magics. So I think Elliot is going to ask the woman that works there what Jazz just bought, because it seemed really odd.
Do you want this to be Emily specifically, or just like an employee who works there?
I'll say Emily specifically.
Okay. I didn't have a voice with her before, but if it's fine, I'm just gonna do like Minnesota, like bad Minnesota.
Okay, yeah. Aren't we in California?
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
don't you know?
Oh,
You bought this book?
she's gonna look and she's gonna be like, oh, what's up there, Elliot? And she sort of like crouches down on her knees a little bit while she's like sorting through books below the counter.
I think he's gonna kind of like gesture towards the door and say, that the girl that was just here, I haven't seen any of those books that in this store before. Something that looks like that old. What was that?
Oh, those are, at some point I was going through, I'd been traveling around, flying around places, and I'd visited some kind of knickknack magic museum shop, south of the border for a little bit, and then I came back up and, came up, on my car. I just found all kinds of neat little books like that, and when I ended up bringing them back here, they just started selling real hot, so I kept buying them.
Elliot.
It turns out people find magic and stuff like that really interesting.
Okay, Elliot, I think we'll make a face when you say magic and say, can you learn magic from a book? Magic isn't real, but also looks a little scared at the thought of maybe magic is real, because if demons are real, like Jazz said, magic probably is too.
She just looks at you with that sort of confused face of like, do you say anything to her, or are you just like, you hear magic and you're like kind of
Looking like,
I don't think that Elliot is explicitly going to mention the demon, because like he's still like having trouble grappling with what he actually saw, but he'll say something to the effect of like, do you think magic might help with strange things going on in town, or any town really? Just, do you think that it would be useful for someone to know something like that?
oh, maybe, I guess, if you're dealing with weird stuff, I wouldn't consider myself like a witch, or even really like that religious or anything, but I do have my superstitions. I don't know if I'd be the right person about that
I don't
though.
want to disparage your accent, but I keep hearing, what's the name of that movie? Hold on. Smoke Signals. I keep hearing the guy from Smoke Signals. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that movie.
Mm-mm.
It's just throwing me off. I had to say something.
It's absolutely sending me, so please don't stop.
Yeah, I like it.
It is wonderfully on point.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, there are people in town who know a little bit more about that. Is there a specific reason you're asking? Had seen a ghost at night? No, it's silly, yeah. But just want to make sure.
I think Elliot's like half a second away from like fully confessing why he's upset, but is also like, I don't want to sound like I'm completely losing my mind here, so I think he'll just nod and say, no, I was just curious. I've noticed some odd things about town, here and there, and was just curious, but it's probably nothing. And I think Elliot will pause for a second and say, but are there other people in town that know about magic? And he's like trying, and like I don't even need to do a roll to say that he's failing at being like very nonchalant. It's very clear that he's like very invested in what Emily says.
I swear to God, this wasn't planned. I do mean this. This came up naturally, but this is the one pre-planned guy who is knowledgeable about things. He's gonna say, one of the old man who tends to some of the graveyards around town. Of course, he works with stuff like that. Some families get real worried about the kind of people who dig up their family stuff or that, or they get worried about ghosts. So, I've heard he knows a whole lot about that.
Elliot is like kind of nodding along and says, "Oh, the graveyard, okay." And I think one of the conditions you said was that this graveyard is like far away.
Yeah, it's a bit out of town.
Okay.
But he doesn't just tend to that graveyard. He has you would know. Like she's basically saying yeah, this guy's full-time job is to go to the different graveyards that are sort of out of the way.
Okay. I think well, I guess it would only be Kevin and Jazz. Kevin has a car, Jazz does not.
I have access to a work van.
He has access to a car. It's not his car.
Yeah.
And I think there's also a car that Jazz could use, but it's like their dad's. Because he travels so much, but when he was still living there, he had a car, and it's not the one that Jazz's sister took. So there's a car there, but they're not really supposed to use it because it's like a nice car, like of some kind.
Got you. Do you think you could ride to this, do a bike ride to this graveyard? Like, even if it took a decent chunk of time during the day, I don't think Elliot's dad would really notice if Elliot was gone, so.
If you headed out early in the day, you could, yeah.
Okay, I think that if that's the case, I was originally going to have Elliot try and team up with Jazz, but I think Elliot might try and, slightly investigate on his own first more about magic, just to make sure, nothing weird is going on with Jazz. He doesn't want to, show his hand yet. It's just I'm going to investigate first, and then I'll talk to everyone else about what happened. So I think that Elliot's going to set out on his own to the graveyard.
Okay. So I'm gonna let you roll a d20 for what your complication is on the bike ride.
Oh, okay. Elliot immediately gets hit by a car as soon as he leaves town.
Middle of fucking winter, riding your bike several miles outside of town to a graveyard.
I got a
to
15.
hear about
California
spooky
winter.
shit.
Yeah, it's California winter. It's not Chicago.
We're in Northern California though, so.
Oh, true. But yeah, I'll say 15.
Okay, put it in chat if you would.
Sure.
So I'm going to tell you the nature of the complication, and if you want, you can describe exactly what that is.
Okay, that sounds good.
What's it? A strange encounter with wildlife happens on your way to the graveyard.
Okay.
Oh, it's got to be a moose. A moose once bit my sister.
I don't think there's any. It would probably be an elk or something like that. I don't know if moose go that far south.
I'll say
Elk is not as satisfying to Minnesota.
I'll say Northern California. I feel like foxes are everywhere.
Maybe a black bear, although it's wintertime, so they would probably
Trying to get Elliot killed.
I'll go
Also,
with a fox because you're probably not going to get KO'd by a fox if shit goes south. So
That's what you think.
Now it's just going to
The
be
fox
humiliating.
The fox isn't necessarily hostile, but it is a strange or unusual encounter. So it can be merely something like that you can tell the fox somehow gives you the evil eye, or for some reason you think this fox is mistrustful of the surrounding area, or maybe it's as simple as the fox stares at you in a way that feels strangely human. Same with
Okay.
a bear.
I think I got one. So Elliot is like riding his bike to the graveyard. I'm gonna say that like the conversation with the lady at the store happened kind of earlier in the day, so I'll say that maybe it's like noon or 1 o'clock. And as Elliot's riding, it's kind of like a more of a back road, not like a highway or anything. He sees up ahead that there's a fox kind of standing in the middle of the road. So he kind of swerves to go around it. But the fox moves in front of his bike again, and this is still like the fox is still a little further down the road, but anytime Elliot tries to change direction slightly to avoid the fox just will shift. So by the time Elliot reaches the fox, is maybe like 10 feet away from it, and the fox is like growling at Elliot in a way of like more preventing Elliot from passing than being explicitly aggressive. And I think Elliot's gonna think it's odd, but since Elliot has knowledge of the woods, it's like maybe it has like rabies or something like that. So I'm gonna say there's like an off-road nearby, and Elliot really picks up the pace to change directions and go that other way. So I'm gonna say it might take like a little longer, like 20, 30 minutes longer, but he's like, this fox is acting really weird. And as he's pedaling away, the fox tries to like chase after him a little bit too, but Elliot's faster ultimately.
Roll me a DC 5 flight, or no, DC 4 flight check. This is pretty easy.
DC4 flight was, let me just double check. I think I have a 6. D6? Yeah, D6 for flight. I got a 3.
Do you have adversity tokens left from last session?
Yeah, I do. I'll use 1.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just barely get away.
Yeah, as described, you manage to pedal away. The fox is interested in following you seemingly, but it isn't like a preternaturally fast, like pursuing you with like its full body, you know?
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Elliot's still on his way to the graveyard. It just might take like 20, 30 minutes longer because he's giving the fox a wide berth just in case it's sick.
Okay. Jack should be here soon, yeah?
Yes, I believe
possibly.
20 more minutes.
Okay. So, I will say that the first group to arrive at the graveyard would be, no, it's the first group to arrive, but the first group that we're going to encounter with is our group of 3, as you guys find yourself in the, what did you say, the St. Asmuth graveyard?
Rasmuth.
Rasmuth.
Rasmuth. Rasmuth.
Yeah, Asmuth Graveyard is like, you'll wind up here eventually. Set your course on the Asmuth Graveyard.
So, as you guys enter this graveyard, it is, it's a northern town in California, and it's small, and it's in the middle of the woods. And this town is surrounded by a big lake, so it shouldn't be surprised that immediately as you guys unfurl from this car and you step out one by one, there is a thick fog that sets in on town almost every other night. This town constantly has almost a persistent ambient moisture to it. Anytime you touch a leaf, especially in the winter, there is something to it. Either it's frost or it's rain. But especially tonight, the fog is extremely limiting. You have a hard time seeing more than 4 or 5 feet in front of you. And as you take steps forward, the glaring eye of feeling like something watching is you, it feels like it's below your feet. Not necessarily the earth itself, but it feels like every time you take a step, you can feel the eyes narrow and focus.
Graveyards are supposed to be consecrated, right?
I don't know, maybe.
Oh,
Um,
do my duty. the country have made the scout law. And you just hear Algernon in the background. He's just muttering to himself, like, over and
Are
over.
you just in the back seat fucking mumbling the Scout's Creed right now?
He is 100% mumbling the Scout's Creed.
Like, oh my
Uh,
god.
This place
I
wasn't
look
that scary
Myself
during.
strong, mentally awake.
There were like
Jazz,
50 other people here.
What's that,
Jazz,
Sarah?
Jazz, I will let you roll a brains check specifically from your research about the nature of like the graveyard or what would protect it if you want.
Sure. Yeah, I'll go for it. D10.
Well, they should DC
That-
5
that-
brains.
I got a 10.
Oh,
I need
okay.
to reroll.
That's significant.
Because they explode, right?
Yep.
So 12 total.
Okay. So with a 12 on that, you would know that this graveyard specifically is consecrated. Not only that is the graveyard consecrated, however, the idea of something watching over a graveyard, you would know is, especially like families, like specifically families or ones named after specific saints, there's lots of local legends about the idea, especially folk tales, about the idea that one of the elder matriarchs or patriarchs would specifically watch over the graveyard.
It's probably just, some spirits. They're probably helpful. Dead family members and whatnot. Let's go get those flowers, guys.
Yeah.
She begins to.
Scout is trustworthy.
What time is
Scout
it by the
loyal.
time we get we're out of the van, we're we're walking through the graveyard. What time of day is it about?
What time would you guys have left in the car? Did you wait till tomorrow, or did you head out later that day?
No, I think it was same day. I
It's late.
yeah, my guess is like 6 or 7.
All right, we've got our flashlights out. I'm guessing fucking Algie's is way too large to be practical in their hands. Got a fucking
The
mag light or
size of
some
their
shit.
forearm.
It's actually paracorded, so he has emergency paracord around his neck to hold his whistle. It's under his kerchief, so it's normally hidden. And he just took that off of his neck, and he used it to secure his flashlight from falling.
Okay.
Cool. I'm walking slightly ahead of Algie. Algie is telling us where to go, but I am kind of just walking in front and not like, all right, I've got you, kid, but just like, I'm in front of you. It's okay. I'm gonna get there. Kind of just shining my flashlight around, looking at the names on the gravestones.
So it's
To locate these flowers, I think you have more of a knowledge on this, but I'll let you say this is either a flight or check.
Algie's plan is to check the, I don't know if I was clear earlier, but Algie's plan is to check the shed where the gardener and upkeep staff would have stored things.
Okay.
Because that's where the scouts had left all their gear for. So what kind of check do you want me to run a check?
I can say you can navigate your way to the shed pretty easily. I'll ask the group, how do you guys proceed as you walk through the graveyard? Do you make special care to be careful about not stepping on the actual graves themselves, or not disturbing flowers left next to the gravestones? Are you nonchalant about it? How do you act?
Jazz is sticking to the main paths.
Yeah. We'd be being respectful, I think. We wouldn't cut across, walking over graves and everything else. Not unless there was some dire need, I don't think.
And I'll say Algernon is even more reflexively if he sees flowers have fallen, he's come out here on multiple scout trips to clean up the graveyard. He was probably here after the Gothic rock concert or whatever happened out here, muttering under his breath as he picked up cigarettes. So he's just reflexively doing that. He's just sticking cigarette butts in his pocket as he goes.
It's so good.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I will say then, specifically Algernon, as you continue walking and you continue doing this, compared to everybody else, you do feel a special feeling of ease as you walk through the graveyard.
Okay, so yeah, as he's walking, he was originally like shoved up really close behind Kevin, totally taking that protective aura. But he starts to relax, his shoulders slump from their position next to his ears, and he starts just kind of casting his flashlight around. Oh, that one's new, pointing at gravestones with that kind of like childish, like, oh yeah, they're dead. They're newly dead. Look at that grave dirt. Just remember, no big deal. That kind of thing.
Kevin is just like, let's just get to the magic fucking plant, and let's not interact with too much dead
Swear
shit,
jar.
because demons are real,
Swear jar.
apparently.
That's too
Just
swear jar.
shine the light back at Algernon. It's like, swear jar doesn't apply when you turn 16. Does not.
Yeah, that's why I say fuck all the time.
That's right. This fucker says fuck all the fucking time. I cannot make her stop
Did you
saying
get-
fuck. She's a fucking menace.
9 times out of 10, if a word's coming out of my mouth, it's going to be fuck.
One time out of 12. That's very much less than 10%.
Don't be a fucking smart ass. Keep walking.
So, as you approach this shed, it is tall, wooden, built kind of shoddily. You can see it was made just like people throwing 2x4s together and then nailing some foundation in. Most importantly, you notice that the lock that normally keeps the latch together is ajar at this point. And while the door isn't open, it's seemingly been left that way.
I bet this is like your people again, Jasmine.
My people?
Yeah, like
Oh,
that
the
concert we
concert.
talked about. Like they left this place such a mess last time I was here.
This shit was about to get real uncomfortable
Yeah, I
real
thought
quick.
Algernon was being.
I did not know where you were going with that. I had to think about it for a second.
The
Oh,
Jewish
no.
kid dunking on the Hispanic kid saying, your people did this.
Algie just like charges forward and he's like already reaching for the door. He's feeling so comfortable
Oh no.
that his level of caution is gone. So he just kind of like steps in front of Kevin to grab that door handle. It's right here.
Algernon, you know I could tell your mom that you're out here smoking cigarettes and she would believe me, right? Just remember that.
The nuclear option.
Why did you have to go
Why?
with the cigarettes?
I wouldn't even smoke. It's gross. Well, I mean,
You're right. That's not that believable. I'll think of something better.
but why? What did I do to you?
Well, you just said that my people were out here dropping cigarettes. I
We
just came
were.
for the
I cleaned
concert,
up-
man.
I cleaned up after that concert. I know. And he's just like, I mean, if nobody stops him, he's hauling that door open.
Oh no.
So, as you swing this door open, you hear the sound of something chitter slightly, but it is bug-like. It's almost like a proboscis. But the first thing you notice,
fuck.
like in the
Here we go
darkness,
again.
you do notice fireflies almost pour out of this thing, like almost like a flood of them, right? As if you'd open the door and it had been filled up with water. And as these things pour out, you guys
Holy
shine your
fuck!
flashlight immediately in.
Kevin can't help himself as he's like beating at one of these. Swear jar!
Swear jar.
Um,
Yeah, it says it at the same time.
How much would each of your characters know about like folklore or like cryptids or mythological beings?
Jazz, as previously, I think stated, at least I told you, does not believe in any of that shit up until 2 days ago and has never had any encounters beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Algie.
Oh, go ahead.
Algie knows about like the kinds of stories you tell at campfires and like scout stuff. And he also knows that fireflies are definitely a summer thing.
Kevin, not really. No, not even like the campfire shit. It's all just, shit other people talk about. I don't have time for it. So I don't know.
Okay. So I will leave you guys on a cliffhanger as we go to what KC is doing. So, KC, I have been saving this. This is prearranged. As you are dealing with the consequences right after the gymnasium, tell me what KC does. You guys just finished, and after this, there's the immediate chaos of the lights start swinging. The teachers continually trying to calm people from what do you call it, in the building. You can hear teachers trying to calm kids down. You can hear the sounds of kids crying in the background.
Sorry, did you ask what Casey does straight away? It like dropped out slightly.
Like what does Casey do in the ensuing chaos?
I think she's having a moment where she's always like believed in other stuff. Like she's very superstitious. She's always like believed in things more than people probably should. But she's never had like that 100% like locked in as a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think she drives like a really terrible, like it was a car that her parents bought her that like in no way suits her. Like
Mm-hmm.
she should by all rights have something like quite sleek and nice, and maybe like even an old car that's nice, but it's just like driving a barge around. It's like her dad really liked hot rods, so it's like not a good hot rod, but she hates it, and she gets in that, and she lights a cigarette, and she just kind of starts driving for a while. And I think she's driving to clear her head, but she's like, before she knows it, she's almost certainly past like the limits of the town, and she's driving somewhere.
I'm gonna let you roll a d20 because I do have a specific table for like just basically you're heading to a location in the middle of nowhere.
I think she has an idea. I wanted to give a pause in case like something happened. Like she's definitely driving to where like the nearby college where all of her friends went, which feels forever away. But she's like, I'm gonna go see people. I'm gonna be like, talk to the twins about their weirdo little forest nymph brother, and talk to the cooler version of Jazz, and just have a good time at a college town and not have to worry about demons eating children.
Comes back and the twins' little brother has been eaten by a demon.
I'll give you this. There is the local college, but do you think, as you head up there, how many hours away do you think it is? I'll say a minimum of...
A minimum of how many? Sorry.
A minimum of 1.
I think
I
had specifically said it was 2.5 hours in the last session.
Yeah, I think it's like it's that distance that somebody from a small town feels insurmountably long. But as you get older and as your like world expands, it's such a short distance to drive 2.5 hours. Also, Casey, at the best of times, is not a safe driver. She's very safe. She drives very fast. But at the best of times, she doesn't obey the speed limit. And right now, she's not thinking about it, and she's like chain smoking her way. She's got like she smokes. I know that here they were Peter Stuyvesant's, and they came in a paper packet, and it was part of it was that you had a paper packet of cigarettes, so you felt like you were like an adult. I was that person. So she smokes them, and she's gone through like a pack. She's chain smoking in this car and speeding up. So it might be a 2.5 hour drive. She does it in like an hour 50, and doesn't realize she's got there.
As you're sort of driving along this, I wouldn't say highway, but it's like a well-established road, right? Because this is a connection between the other big city and this college, and it's getting late into the evening. It's certainly not dark yet, but you can see the sun beginning to peak the edges of itself below the horizon. Because the science fair sort of happened midday, like later, like past noon, but actually in the evening. As you're driving through the woods, you don't feel as if you're being watched. But you do feel as if a certain distance away from town, a disconnect, as if you have entered the presence of something strange. Do you ever have those moments where you're suddenly walking and then all of your senses hyperfixate for no reason? Whether it's at your shoes or your surroundings, something immediately draws your attention for some indiscernible reason. Your hair goes on end, your body goosebumps for just a half second before everything returns to normal. There is a disruption in the natural flow of your brain, and there is no obvious explanation why, even as you look around in your surroundings.
I think she's pretty worked up about this kind of stuff right now, and she's like, "Well, that's not a thing that normally happens." So she pulls over, and she like, without getting out of her car, reaches into her backpack and like pulls out her notebook and just starts like writing all of the sensations that she experienced, and like kind of tries to work out where she is on that road. She doesn't have like any maps or anything in her car because she doesn't care about that stuff. But she's just like trying to catalog everything that just happened, and she's looking around and seeing if she can see anything even remotely unusual that would have like triggered that primal instinct.
Are you trying to look at? Are you being very direct about it and obvious that you're looking around, or are you just trying to be discreet?
Well, she's sitting in the front seat of her car that she's pulled over, and is just kind of like looking at the windshield, doing that thing where you like try to look up out of a windshield, and then out both windows. So if somebody's watching, it's obvious that she's trying to look around, but like she's not trying to do it in any way other than to be like, well, I need to gauge the surrounding area. She also locks her car.
Do you want to use intuitive here?
I don't, because I don't have a question. As much as I would like to use intuitive, I don't have a question that I want the answer to that much, and I want to keep the adversity.
So, as you're looking about, I will let you choose between different stats, and I'll get you different information. But what stat do you think you're using to perceive the world around you? Are you looking for escape exits? Are you looking for other entities? Are you looking for something that may present a danger to you? You get the idea.
I think she's specifically looking for points to add to like a data pool so that she can analyze it later. She's very like, again, she's super smart, so she's like very good at putting together like puzzles and stuff. So she's looking around, trying to be like, okay, well that tree, one of the branches is broken in a way, like at this height. So, if possible, I'd like to use brains to like put together an idea of the field world around her.
This is a planned action, so you can take half, or you can roll a d20, and this will be a DC.
A DC, how much? Sorry.
DC 9.
I'll roll, because if I fail, that's still useful. It's a 7.
Okay. Do you want to spend any adversity tokens, or do you want to roll with it?
No, I'll just take the 7.
Okay. So with the 7, it's only a near failure. So you do notice, and immediately as you're looking around, you notice that one of the branches on a nearby tree seems to hang loose, as if something heavy there had landed on it and then suddenly left. Secondly, you notice that up ahead is a bridge. And third, you notice that the river under the bridge is going faster and faster and faster, as if it's suddenly picking up pace. Fourth, you notice that the air around you chills, but you do feel as if you have missed something. Either it took you too long to look around. Do you have that primal part of your brain, like there is a piece of the puzzle that is not here?
I think she probably realizes that stuff in reverse order. Like, she notices the cold because it's a familiar thing. She notices the river and then looks up at the bridge. And, like, she sees the branch. And she processes that, like, the branch probably broke from weight. Like, from something propelling off the branch. And she's like, alright, that's not good. And she just, like, her car was idling, and she just like floors it and tries to like drive across the bridge as quickly as possible and get away from this realm of like weird, faster rivers and things jumping out of trees. She turns the heater on in her car to deal with the cold.
Roll me flight DC 8. Snap decision.
I'm thinking about the way to math. I'm thinking about maths of like how to get to 8.
Explode that
I'll
guy.
just roll.
I will say,
It's a D10. I'll just roll.
Okay.
But I have a cool under pressure, so I could have taken it as a like half and then added adversity tokens.
I will say the success and fail here are both interesting enough that like don't feel pressure. Like this isn't like this is one of those checks where like I want you guys to feel comfortable taking the loss on checks here.
Well, I rolled a 5, and in that case, I'm not going to use any adversity tokens.
So this is going to seem initially very bad until I'm done with it. Keep that in mind. But you didn't fail by that much. So as you're driving towards the bridge, you floor it immediately, and as the water begins to torrent, you see that the bridge and the stones that seem to keep it together begin to crumble in a rather rapid fashion. And as you're speeding towards it, you realize swerving would throw you into a river or a tree, and so the only option you have is to either slam on the brakes or keep going, and I'll let you choose which of those two you do.
I think she 100% slams on the brakes, but this stupid, weighty nonsense car doesn't have like enough braking power to stop itself before she just like plummets forward. Like she would have had to brake where she pulled over to get this to stop in time.
Okay, so as you're suddenly slamming onto the brakes and trying to avoid it, the bridge seems to collapse, and right as you feel like you should fly over the edge, you can hear the sound loud thunk as something grabs onto the back of the car and is pulling it back with the brakes. And it's not nearly force to prevent all of it going over, but you can feel just the first third of the car begin to tip over this edge.
She, being cool under pressure, grabs her backpack and begins to scramble back into the back seat and just like pushes the door open and tries to step out. She does have a moment. She does have a moment as she's doing this where she's like, "Man, is it just better if I go in with my car? Like, I don't want to lose the freedom of having a car. Like, this is a lot to me." But flight, did you say?
Yeah, DC 5, and you can still feel something dragging on the back of the car, or something pulling on it.
Sure. I got a 5 exactly.
Okay. You can manage to get out of the car before it, or your additional weight would cause it to tip. The car is just over the edge where it's not going to fall one way or the other, but it's sort of teetering slightly.
All right, well, I look at what grabbed my car.
This would be the same as earlier. Do you want to look at what grabbed the bumper? This is intuitive, so this would be a question where you can roll brains, but this thing is obviously quick. It's avoided your sight before, so this will be a DC 12 brains to try and look at this thing before it's gone.
All right, I'm going to change my D20 because that one's garbage. All right, DT 12. Do I spend 7 adversity token? No, I got a 5. I rolled a 5. Flight and brains are good.
Just gonna go into the next encounter with like 12 of these things.
Yeah, I rolled a 5 if I'm not using anything.
Okay. I will say intuitive would apply here, but you wouldn't get as much information as you would from that brains check. Yeah, I think with the 5, you don't notice whatever it is that caught the car and pulled it back, and as soon as you look, it seemingly disappears. It being not a total failure, though, I will say it has left behind some sort of portion of itself. You find one thick black feather resting on the ground from where it was.
I'll pick the feather up and start like looking at it. Is my car like in the Italian Job just hanging off the original Italian Job, hanging off the edge of the bridge? And it's
Love
like
the specification.
it's well, I don't remember the end of the new one, and I don't think it happens, but it's just hanging off both sides.
Yeah. It's less. It's closer to the. It's like more. What do you call it? More of the car is on solid ground than not. Only about a third is hanging. However, you're not sure how stable that situation is.
Well, look.
Yeah. What's the front third? So there's the engine block.
Yeah, adding
Yep.
adding Casey's weight to the exact back can only possibly help. So she grabs her backpack and her notebook and hops up onto the trunk of the car and is sitting waiting for the next person that wants to use this bridge to take her back to town. Because like she has no way of contacting anyone and isn't going to walk through the woods at night. Like, who would do that? But she's sketching the feather, and I will use an intuitive, a point for intuitive, to ask what if Casey looks under the like rear bumper where the car got grabbed, if she can work out what type of like appendage grabbed the bumper. Like, is it a claw? Is it a talon? Is it a weird tentacle?
So hey, this will most certainly be playing my hand here, but good if you would know. Whatever grabbed this thing was certainly bug-like.
Okay. Don't remember I put my notes in right here. Bug-like saved my car. Has a black feather.
I think the way you'd notice that is you do find little scraps of chitin like left on it.
Casey's sketching everything that she like picks up and stuff. She probably walks back down to that tree branch and sketches that as well while she's waiting for the next car to come by.
Okay. And then I would like to pan back to whatever it is that Elliot is getting up to. First, I want to know, what did Elliot do in the ensuing chaos from school?
You mean like the post on the way to the graveyard, or
Like before
No,
they went to the bookstore?
Yeah. Right after you guys dealt with the
I think
demon
they
running
said,
away.
didn't you?
yeah, Elliot ran home and like locked himself in his room.
Okay.
Until he went to talk with the lady at the bookstore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you did. That's my bad. So as you're heading to this graveyard and you finally manage to get there, you find the grave tender's house. He lives kind of out of the way. It's nothing fancy. It's like a small single-story house. It's got 2 windows. It's built out of logs. It'd be a cabin if he didn't call it a house and didn't have a mailbox. It's got the official number on it. He's got a small shit-hit truck out there. Like, it's got the long bed and heavy parts, and you see dirts and piles of shovels left on it. Up halfway.
Sorry, what was that? You cut out for a second.
Oh, sorry. The house is seemingly adorned with a half-done paint job to renew what was the fine wood finish. You see an addendum or an addition to the house is only about 10% done, as if somebody started laying the foundation for something and gave up. The doorbell is cracked against the wood, as if somebody had pounded there just a little bit too hard.
Okay. Um, is there anything else before Elliot? Anything else Elliot sees before going up to the door?
The dirt path is very well worn.
Okay. Is this within sight or earshot of like the graveyard where everyone else is? Well, minus Casey.
Yes.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna say that Elliot doesn't see or hear them yet because they're at the like. I think you said it was the
Yeah.
mausoleum. Yeah. So I think Elliot is just gonna like go up to the front door and maybe make a note of the fact that the doorbell is kind of fucked up. But we'll
Hmm.
just kind of uh, ring the doorbell and then stand there awkwardly on the porch realizing that he doesn't really know what to say if anybody does answer the door.
Yeah. Okay. As you knock on the door, you do hear the sound of somebody getting up from a chair very loudly. Uh, like the grumbling and the production of all of it. You hear the leather begin to unrest, and you hear the sound of a TV snapping off in the background from an all too loud sitcom. The sound of somebody setting down a magazine, and you hear the heavy footsteps as man opens the door. He's obviously got, as he opens it, he's got this heavy set beard that goes like halfway down to his stomach. He's got tan dark skin. He's got these super heavy eye bags that run all across his face. And he has those super well worn fingers. The man's obviously in his 50s, and his lips are almost always parched, a little bit cracked. He's wearing a laborer's uniform, still sort of covered in dirt. And he looks at you as if he has just had the longest day of his life as soon as he opens the door.
Oh. Um. Does he say anything, or is he just looking at Elliot?
He looks at you like an owl looks at a person in the middle of the night.
um. Yeah, I think Elliot like maybe for just a second or two just awkwardly stands there, and he's like kind of regretting that he had this whole long bike ride and like didn't think to like practice what to say. Um.
Mm-hmm.
So I think. Did you say what this man's name was?
I did not. I was going to let you pick.
Oh, okay.
I can pick if you'd prefer.
Yeah, I'm very bad at naming things, so.
About
well,
Jeremiah.
Jesus,
Yeah,
that's creepy. I was thinking Jeremy.
That's such a like cliched name.
Yeah, I
Just
like
call
it
him
though.
just call him Gary. He just works there. He's not defined by his job, Andrew.
He's probably called Jerry or something, but
Yeah,
you know.
we'll go with Jeremiah or Jerry for short. But
Methuselah.
yes.
I think Elliot will say, are
I should
you?
mention this man is like toweringly tall, by the way. Like he's like 6'8" or 6'7".
Oh,
This
okay,
is
so
like a
he's taller than Elliot then. Okay. I think
yeah.
Elliot is slightly off put at the fact that he has to look up because I think he said Elliot was like 6 feet. So
Mm-hmm.
Elliot is gonna look up and say, "Are you Jeremiah?"
Yes.
um, I think he's gonna stand there and then say, I heard about you from the bookstore in town. I was hoping you could maybe talk to me about an old book that I saw someone buy there." And this is like the most awkward, like, conversation Elliot's ever had in his life.
You want snacks?
Elliot kind of raises his eyebrow and then says, "Sure."
He swings the door to his little cabin open, and there's like a front room mixed with a kitchen with food on it, and these like obviously handmade chairs that were made by shoddy craftsmanship. Um, and he walks back into his house, and he has to like duck because he seemingly made the ceilings too low for himself at some point.
Oh.
Um, and he looks and he says, "What book?"
Yeah,
There
Jess, what is the name of
are
the the book?
Oh,
I don't know. It's something in Spanish. So like I think it's like incantaciones something. Let me do a quick Google Translate. Sorry guys, I also don't actually know Spanish despite being Hispanic.
Are you throttling Ruby over there, Sean?
Yeah.
Throttling. No, just picking her up a little bit because she's in. All right, father has been sitting down for a little while. I can plump and I can plump and I can lay across his right arm. I could lay across left arm. He doesn't use left arm. Right arm he uses, and I must be little tuxedo
Okay,
shit.
so the name of the book is Encantamientos de Protección.
you gotta
Excellent
put that into
pronunciation there.
Protección.
this one. Okay.
Yeah.
What is that?
Sorry. Again, my Spanish is not that good. So that's incantations of protection.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say that Elliot has taken some Spanish classes, so he says the name of the book in a surprisingly good Spanish accent.
Okay. He looks at you and he says, "I have not seen that book in a while. You seek it for a specific. You said somebody tracked it out." He looks really worried.
He looks worried.
Yeah, he's got the big, like, old guy owl eyes as soon as he says this, you know?
I think for some reason, even though he's like scary and intimidating, Elliot like somewhat trusts him and also is like, I doubt that this dude would say like Elliot's making up weird ass stories, like, and like say anything
Mhm.
about it. So I think Elliot is just gonna come clean and say, at the school yesterday there was, I don't even know what to describe it, some sort of creature inside the school. It had teeth and claws, and like Elliot kind of derails a little bit, kind of spooking himself, but he reels himself back in and says, uh, someone said that it was a demon. I don't think I believe them, but I've never seen anything like it. And now, someone I know is buying books on magic from the bookstore. It doesn't make sense. And then just kind of sits there awkwardly, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said all that.
He looks and he says, "A demon in my town? Young man, you have come to the right place."
Elliot looks really
And then he
surprised and
says,
says, you believe me?
"Yes." And he looks behind him and he says, "Your friend was right to get that book. You know where they are now?"
Uh, I guess Elliot wouldn't have known that they were even there. So I think Elliot would say, I don't know. I saw her today buying the book, and then once I knew that you might know some more about it, I came straight here. I'm not sure where she went."
You should find your friend. Are you worried about them?
I think that Elliot has been so concerned about being scared for himself that he didn't even consider the fact that maybe anyone else is in danger right now. So I think he looks confused and then says, I don't know. Should I be?
Hmm. He immediately stands up and the chair falls behind him without consideration. And he walks to this hatch in the room and he pulls it up and he looks at you and he says, "Wait here." And he just jumps down instead of taking the ladder, and you hear like the loud thunk of somebody slamming against dirt. And you can almost hear one of his knees crack slightly.
It's
Um,
not good for your knees long term, bro.
Yeah. I was gonna say, did he leave like the hatch open? Because if he did,
yes, yes.
Elliot's like kind of trying to peek down the hatch, but is like not trying to step on the ladder. So just like lightly snooping.
You see him lift open this great big wooden chest filled with all sorts of memorabilia and like arcana and oddities. And out of one of them, he lifts out this like great wooden fire axe and slings it over his shoulder. And out of the other one, he looks through it for a second, and from under it, he pulls out what looks to be like a finely crafted brass compass.
Okay.
And he closes the chest back down, and he walks towards the ladder, and he like hitches the axe to his waist as he climbs back up. And the compass is like extraordinarily small in this man's hands, right? Looks like a nickel, to an average person. And he opens his palm to it, and he holds it out to you, and he says, "Dig this."
Elliot gently takes the compass. Also, just for clarification, because we've been playing a lot of D&D, when you say fire axe, you mean like an axe that firemen would use, right? Not like an on
Yes,
fire.
I do,
Okay.
yes.
I just
I know,
wanted
it
to
is an
make
axe
sure.
that you-
I'm sorry, Marissa just went full Brissinger right here.
I just had to
If
make
you want
sure.
more-
I was like, if this is an
This guy,
on-fire weapon, Elliot would
you
be
just
like out
walk
the
down.
door.
This guy's got like a mithril plus 2 axe of fire. Casual.
Have you heard of this blade?
Oh, okay. So it's just like
He,
a fireman's axe.
he
Got
has a fucking sun axe instead.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Radiant damage,
he's-
dude.
do you
Radiant
pay special
damage.
attention to the weapon?
What was
Do you
that?
pay special attention? Do you pay special attention to the axe if there's anything on it, or are you just paying attention to him in general?
I feel like the way you described that, I should be paying attention to the axe, but I think Elliot is going to be focused on the compass that's being handed to him.
It's an ornate golden and brass compass that seems to have been handcrafted. All throughout it are these little symbols and topologies of the town, and as you open it up, the compass doesn't seemingly point towards north, but instead you notice the needle seems to spin in a 360 direction, with no second needle to bound. He looks at you and he says, "When you need it, speak the name of somebody, and this will point you towards them."
So I, as a player, think that's cool as hell.
And then he
but
says,
I was gonna say, I think Elliot is just like, are you serious?
"However, the compass will only point to them if they're in danger. And some say, by using this compass, you may cause that to happen."
Oh.
And you don't know enough about magic to know
Ooh.
the truth or reality. But he's going to say, "I know it to be true because I have used it myself. I'm too old, but you." And he hands the compass over to you. Do you want to try and figure out if this man is lying to you?
I think Elliot doesn't really have a reason to doubt him, other than that, just like more of like, is magic actually real? But yeah, I guess he'll try and see, like, does this guy actually believe what he's saying? Not like, will this compass actually work?
Yeah. So he says, "You may speak a name, and it will guide you to them as you need."
Okay.
What is your name?
Elliot says, my name is Elliot.
He's gonna look at you, and he's gonna say, he's gonna hold the compass. He's gonna touch a finger to the compass, and he's going to say, "Elliot." And you hear gears whir in the back of the compass for a second, and he pulls open the lid with 2 of his fingers, and the compass needle seemingly points directly towards you. It has stopped spinning completely.
Oh, your ass is in danger.
I think Elliot at first is like, oh, it actually works, and then it's like, wait, you said it only points to people that are in danger?
No. Well, some say that about the compass, but I don't believe it.
Elliot nods kind of hesitantly, like, okay, I hope you're right. And I think is gonna say, why are you giving this to me? We only just met.
He's going to point out towards one of the windows, and he's going to point towards the door, and he's going to say, because there is a demon, I do not want to have to deal with it. It is your problem now, but you would not leave unless I gave you something.
My problem.
I'm sorry, did you just get "It's dangerous to go alone, take this'd"?
I think so. I think so. But yeah, Elliot, I think is just kind of stunned at how bizarre this conversation is, but then says, "Oh,
If you want to know, by the way, this is one of those checks. You could make a brains check to try and decipher if there's more behind that.
more behind the compass or more behind what he just said?"
More behind what he just said.
Yeah, sure, I'll give it a shot. I don't think feeling a brains check would really be horrendous. What's the DC?
Okay. I'll say this is DC. I'll say DC 10.
I have a D10, so let's see how this goes.
This is a check that getting it
Oh,
or succeeding on would carry a lot of information.
so I actually think I just got a 9, so can I spend an adversity token to pass?
You can. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
As you stare at this man, your eyes are drawn suddenly to, as he says this, when he says, I do not want to deal with it, you immediately think, well, why would he not want to deal with it? He seems prepared. He said, there is one in my town. This immediately tells you he's probably seen or understands things of this nature. You also know he works all day in a graveyard, and as you look at the axe, you notice what seems to be a cross on one end of it. And it swings to your mind that perhaps he is very likely worried about the demon coming to the graveyards, specifically.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Your immediate guess is that you know about the idea of like somebody worried about like coming onto your turf. He's worried that this demon is going to come out of his turf and he's going to miss it when he's out helping you guys.
Oh, okay. I think actually because Elliot has like a very similar vibe about his like kind of little camp in the woods, I think he'll pick up on that and then say, are you worried it's gonna get something here?
Yes. And he's going to say, I have something here I do not want the demon to get.
I I think that Elliot's gonna. Is it clear that this guy doesn't really want to talk about what this thing is?
No, that's not clear to you at all. You don't know if he cares if you ask or not.
Oh, okay. Then Elliot's gonna say, "Why? What do you have that a demon would want? I don't even know what demons would want. They want, I don't know, souls. I don't know."
Next to my house, there is a little dumpster, and behind it, recently, a mother gave birth to pups, and she will not let me come near them, and I do not want the demon to come for them either.
Oh, oh, that's cute. I'm just gonna assume that these are like
And
normal
he's going,
dogs and not like demonic, like or like I don't know, weird dogs. They're just normal dogs. It's fine.
They're like fey hounds, casual.
Yeah, yeah. It's casual. Um, so if that's the case, I think Elliot's gonna nod. I don't think Elliot like has any pets, but is like, I think this makes sense. And he's gonna say, so if you're not going to fight the demon, how would someone fight a demon?
You would need to know what kind of demon it is first.
Well, it was a big one, and it was loud. Elliot's thinking he's
It's-
actually being helpful here, but that's like all he really picked up on.
He says, did it scream?
Elliot nods and says, "Oh, yeah, it did."
You should get headphones. That is the only thing I can think of.
Hey.
If you want to kill a demon, you will need to know what kind of demon it is.
Yeah, Elliot nods and says, "Okay, it was loud. It had claws, had big teeth. But if I wear headphones, will that make it easier?"
Yes. I would think it would be easiest, too, if you had a way to track this demon. And you do remember Jazz throwing a soda can at it. You don't know if that would have any effect, but I do want to remind you guys of that.
Okay.
Okay. Elliot.
And he's going to
Oh, go ahead.
say, there is, in general, an issue all demons have, which is that they do not like being shot by silver or by lead or bullets, really. They do not like bullets.
The answer here is guns. Lots and lots of big guns.
What a truly American solution to demons. You know what demons don't like? Being shot.
Should have
We should
faced
have done
the
that.
Texas.
This
This
is what
here-
we never learned.
M16
Jessica was the true
well.
protagonist. Jessica.
I will say, fucking Terry Pratchett, being he was British. Well, yeah, he was British. Had the whole bit about humanity has tried to fight demons for hundreds of centuries. Candles, prayer, incense. It wasn't until doom that someone thought of the double-barreled shotgun. Eat leaden death, demon fucks. I don't think he said fucks at the end, but
I do like that you gain just immediate plausibility, and by making it a Terry Pratchett thing, I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, wait, I'm just agreeing because I like Terry Pratchett.
that's how they get you.
And he's going, yeah. Lots of people think you need a specific cross, or that you need to nail its liver to a floor once you have brought it down. But people always forget to try the most obvious thing, which is shooting it in the head.
What if we're just getting shit rolled right here? This isn't actual advice. This is just basement Joe with a gun. Who's like, have
This
you
guy's
tried?
actually like, he's just
You have
down
not
like
made
a
any
fourth
effort
of
to know if he's
vodka.
You don't know if he's being truthful or not. You've not perceived any of that. You don't know if this specific information is right. You know the compass probably works, but
I don't
This
think
guy's
that
actually
Elliot.
the crazy grave tender.
I think that Elliot, just seeing that the compass actually worked in pointing towards Elliot, he's like, I mean, demons are weird and absurd, and maybe just this advice is weird and absurd, but it's true too. So I think he's gonna kind of nod, oh yeah, of course, you shoot demons. That's how that works. And it says, so how can we find it? It ran away as soon as we tried to attack it. Yeah.
Well, you could try and find the demon's name. And then he points to the compass.
I think Elliot kind of scowls and is like, demons have names?
Yes. Why would they not? He looks at you more confused than you already are.
Elliot just shrugs and says, I I didn't figure that demons would have names, but I only just found out that they're real like a day ago.
You could also try footprints or small dead animals in the woods or big dead animals in the woods.
Elliot looks viscerally uncomfortable at that particular suggestion of big dead animals in the woods, but says,
Or
I think that makes sense, so just can track it like an animal or try and learn its name somehow.
yes, or find very big dead animals. Also important.
Elliot looks even more concerned. And I think we'll say, I think Elliot's like almost ready to go, but we'll say, have you fought demons before?
He just points towards the door.
I guess that Elliot's gonna take the hit and is just gonna, I guess just turn around and head out. I think. Yeah, I don't even think
The door.
Elliot's gonna say like thank you or anything. I think that gesture was like so clear of like, okay, get out now, that he's just gonna like get up and like walk out the front door.
As you walk out the front door, it slams behind you, and then you hear it creak open suddenly, like 5 seconds later, and you hear a box get thrown out of it behind you, and then you hear the door slam again.
You
And
said
it
a
is a
box?
small wooden box. Yeah, like a small wooden box. And it is just a small wooden box containing 3 silver bullets.
So I have 3 bullets, a magic compass, and no gun.
Yes.
Why do I have 3 bullets and no gun? Why
This is-
can't I have?
This is
This might
perfect
be
video game logic right here.
This might be this might be my non-American brain, but I feel like giving 3 bullets to a child is deeply irresponsible.
What
Even
kind
if you
of
don't
bullets
know they
are
have a
they
gun.
It's the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
also, what type of bullets? Do they just
They're
fit
all
in any gun? Also,
They're all
I learned-
universal?
So,
I,
like, my current mindset is, oh, good, we've got the ammo. The gun's easy to get. It's hard to get the ammo.
That's
Jesus.
fair. That's fair.
Ammo shortage, man.
I learned from the movie Shoot 'em Up that you can hold bullets and put your hand into a fire, and they will shoot.
Oh,
That's what I learned
That-
from that movie.
that seems.
From your reactions, I feel like I can tell nobody's seen Shoot 'em Up.
I
No,
And you
but-
should.
I haven't.
It's
feel like
a 90-minute
understand.
shootout.
Is it?
Okay.
Was this movie made before the late 90s? Is it possible that Elliot saw it?
It's a black and white movie starring Clive Owen, so I'm going to assume it came out in like 2003, but I will look it up.
Yeah, that
Okay.
sounds like a 2000s thing.
So I think that Elliot's
Okay,
gonna
so-
kind of like collect all of these things and is kind of like really torn between like determination to try and like hunt down this demon and also like what the fuck just happened. That was the most bizarre interaction I've ever had in my entire life.
Mhm.
And I think that Elliot definitely wouldn't try to talk to Algie about this. Probably not Kevin. Casey probably not. So I think like he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna try and find Jazz and maybe talk to her about this because like it's weird, but we all saw the demon, so she's probably gonna believe me.
All right. So I'm going to cut there, and we're going to come back to what I think is going to be a fun reunion between probably multiple of the characters at this point. And we're going to resolve what's going on with Casey. Meet back in 20 after the hour.
Yeah, sounds good.
20 after.
Yeah, choreographed.
Cool.
Sounds good.
All right.
You're good.
So, I'm going to offer Jack, you the player, two choices. Somehow, over the past few days, Casey has ended up inside the, with some entity, has ended up in the cabin in the middle of a graveyard by their own misadventure. Or you are being chased by something actively into the graveyard for whatever reason.
This is 4 days after her car thing.
Yes.
I prefer, I guess, the being chased thing.
Okay.
Than just being in a cabin in the middle of the thing already.
Sorry, by the way, I thought that we were only like 2 days out from the incident.
2 or 3, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I prefer the being chased thing. I don't really know why she's near a graveyard, unless somebody else has talked to her in the previous 2 days.
I also offer you the third choice that Casey is not near, but this is me saying, do you want to just find a situation to slot in, or do you want to be somewhere else at this time?
I think it makes the most sense that Casey is not nearby. Like, she went back to the town that night, and
we could just say that because the graveyard's like 30 minutes away from the town, right? If it's 30 minutes away from the town in the direction of the college, then Casey starts walking back and runs into the graveyard.
Yeah, but it's 2 days later, and she no. I think what happens is that she went back to the town. She went back to the town. She explained to her parents what happened. They were like neither upset nor not upset. They were nothing. They nothinged her. And then she just grabbed the keys to like her dad's car and drove back to the college town. And now she's on her way back, and like maybe she's near the graveyard, but I'm also fine with her not being at the graveyard.
Well, I mean, either way, she had to go a different way, right? Because the bridge is out now.
That's true.
So she had to go via the graveyard, and she sees like Kevin's work van at the graveyard and just stops on the way back.
Yeah. So, okay, that's a pretty good lead-in. So, I was going to give this to somebody else, but I think this makes the most sense. As you all open the shack door, what you find is first, as these airflies pour out and you shine the flashlight, the first thing you see is 3 cards, and then you see a hand holding them upside down. And as you quickly flick the flashlight up in the shack, you see what looks to be covered in bandages, including all over the face and the arms, obscuring any individual features, as what looks to be a body hung up by the feet, upside down. And it is holding 3 cards specifically, as you shine the flashlight on them. And these bandages to obscure it, and the other arm is hanging down completely, almost slack and touching the ground.
That's not a dead person, right? That's got to be like fake. She takes a couple steps back.
Is this in the building that we just opened up?
Yep.
You just opened up specifically.
Yes, Algie isn't even looking at the body. He's still looking at the fireflies that are departing, and he's like, "That doesn't make any sense. Luciferin doesn't work at this temperature."
Jazz like grabs your shoulder and like turns you physically towards the body.
Towards the body, not shielding him from the body.
No,
I absolutely
why are you looking at these fireflies? Look at this thing in front of us.
Jazz's instinct is to traumatize the child.
I love it.
Full send.
Is it dead? He's like grabbing Kevin. Like now at this point, his
Fucking
his instinctive like connection to Jazz, because he's like, oh, older women are usually nice to me. Now he's just like pulling away from Jazz to grab Kevin.
Um,
Kevin,
I
Is there
shine
like
my
a-
flashlight. Like, is there a head? Is there a head-looking thing that I can shine the light and like see if the eyes are
a
live?
white bandages completely cover the face and the rest of the body. The only thing
Oh,
uncovered
that's
Is there
Is
a stick nearby?
there are several steps.
I grab a stick.
Oh no.
I know I'm
it's-
not there for this right now, but I need to know what type of cards this thing's holding.
If
like,
someone asks,
I-
how?
Is
You
it
guys are
all
the
in?
worst.
Is it
Not
all
concerned
gone?
about the cards.
Is it all wrapped up?
I inch forward and poke the body so that it swings slightly. And
As
at
you
which
poke
point
the
I
body-
glance at the cards.
Thank you.
As you poke the body and you glance at the cards, two things. I'm going to tell the cards first, and this one's for Jack. They're the back of obviously they're the back of what looks to be not playing cards, but seems to be intricate image cards.
oh.
And as you poke the body, whatever it is immediately lurches upwards, swinging itself up by its own weight and twisting around. And the hand holding the cards seemingly stays still as the rest of the body twists around. You can hear the socket twist around this portion.
Ooh.
Um, and the body seems to lurch forward for a second, almost doing a U shape, looking up for a second and around before realizing it's looking at the back of the shack it's in, and then it falls back down, and one of the arms, the one that's not holding the cards, pushes against the ground to turn itself 180 to face you guys, including the head.
Well, hold on, because I wouldn't just be standing there waiting for while this is all happening. But what do you mean image cards? That's it's a term I as Andrew am not familiar with.
Like there's multiple kinds, but the most common would be like tarot cards, for example.
Okay, got it. I just wasn't familiar with that term.
Yeah, like pictography cards.
The second it starts moving, I'm like backing out and like grabbing Algernon
Oh yeah.
and like moving away from the room.
Is just limp. Like Algernon just gets dragged. He's just
Yeah, I think like Jazz and I each have a shoulder blade, and we are just yoink. We're just pulling this kid. I am not shoulder blade. We are like cupping and just dragging this child. Fuck. Do the cards go on the floor?
No, it's still holding them in its hand.
Can I see anything beneath the bandages on its face?
Roll me brains. DC 6.
I don't think this is going to go well. We'll see, boys. Wine.
Beneath the bandages, it's a cold night, and you briefly shine the flashlight at this thing's face. The cold fog and the wind begins to blow behind your back. And as you're paying fully attention to this face, you will identify the face, but for some reason, you're distracted while you do this. You aren't paying attention to the world around you. And you start to get a good look. And initially you see the most startling feature, I'd say, is a nose that's remarkably similar to your own. And you look and you see the face and you see the cheeks look close to yours. And you see the jawline almost reminds you of your own as well. And hell, even the way the head is shaped at the top, the way it curves, that reminds me of you too. And the length of the arms and the height, it starts to get uncanny. You can
Actively
feel
shitting myself as I drag Algie out.
you feel the air all the way along your back, and on a 1 there, what you do not notice is something behind you. And that something is KC.
We back up into case like
I mean, Casey's, I assume, watching these three back up and will not just stand there like a wall.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like-
And
I think
they
because
just do
Casey
not
doesn't
notice
see
you.
the
They are
stereo
all
thing,
completely transfixed by whatever.
right?
No, you just see
Casey-
them next to a shack, all backing the slash.
Casey leans really close to Kevin as Kevin's backpedaling, and just like next to Kevin's head says, "Kevin."
Oh, that's. I'm gonna make a grit roll not to punch Casey in the face. I'll ask the GM to determine the DC on that, but
Hitting a girl in the 90s, that's like
DC
that's
8.
pretty bad.
there's nobody here to white knight for you. You're fucked.
You said DC 8.
Kevin, you'll white knight yourself.
Yeah, DC 8.
I could take the 10 on this, but I'm gonna roll it.
I think it's a snap decision, anyways.
It's a snap decision, most definitely.
Yeah, I got a 6.
Rip.
That
Unless you want to spend some points on that.
I have 2, so I could do it, but I'll take the 5. Oh wait, I am actually at 3, so I would still have 1. But
I'm looking
Yeah.
up gun purchasing laws in California for 1998 because Casey is 18, and I'll just shotgun you in the back and we'll be done with it.
there we go.
That's
Wow.
how Kevin goes.
Yeah,
Shotgun
Casey gets
in the
punched
back.
and then thinks it's not Kevin and shoots Kevin.
Instantly killed him.
He
Fucking
gets to rename
Algernon is behind him and gets Algernon too.
No,
Turns
not
into a very
Algernon.
different.
We did it.
Killing me. Yeah.
Double tap.
I
Yeah,
I can flip it for you.
flip a coin for me about what?
If you want to use your tokens or not.
No, I won't use
Yeah,
them.
don't use your
I'll take the
tokens.
failure.
No,
Just as she does that wheel around, like hand up, and I mean I failed by 2, so it's not like probably not a full blown punch. I pull it at the last second, but I still whack her in the face.
Okay, roll flight. Sorry, roll fight, and Casey is gonna roll flight.
Okay,
what's your fight
how
like?
bad the punch is.
my fight is D8 plus 1.
Okay.
Okay, roll flight.
Okay, now I rolled an 8.
The dice explodes.
Great.
They'll roll again.
All right, so 9, 10.
Okay, what did you get? Wait.
I rolled a 6, but I will use. Is it 1 to lower that to the next bracket?
No, you're
Of
in the
low.
second. You're in the lowest bracket. That's
Oh, yeah,
minus
I'll just
1.
take it.
Okay.
I just
yeah.
I'm just trying to find ways to get adversary tokens. So this is all great.
Yeah, you get decked in the face pretty hard. It's not that bad, but it still is like a full punch to the face.
Jesus, Kevin.
Fuck, Casey!
Fuck, what are you doing here?
And then just
she was,
immediately looking back at the shed.
She was flighty enough to not get her nose broken. But it's like,
Mhm.
I saw your van.
Algie is still
Why
looking
did you
at
bring
the.
Algernon?
Shut up!
So,
I recover Algernon from the 2 irresponsible teens.
Algernon grabs Casey because he's like, this is my original protector, and he's just pointing, kind of in like without words at the shed.
Okay.
we
Jazz,
came to get wolfsbane because Algernon said that they knew about some wolfsbane here in the graveyard, and I found a book which said it would help us against the demon. And so we were looking around, and we found into the shack. And there's a body hanging in the shack upside down, holding playing cards. But it's like wrapped in bandages, and we're here now.
Go!
So, what are you even yelling?
So many questions about all of this.
Cocoon.
Oh, it's
What
a
do we
cocoon.
What do we see in that shed? Like if the
I
door.
guess it was kind of like a cocoon.
Yeah,
now that you
Casey
say
will
it.
like kind of lean forward and try and look at whatever they're looking at in the flashlight.
Roll me brains DC 6.
I will. Is it a snap decision?
Is Casey carefully examining it or taking a quick look?
A quick look, because it's a monster.
Snap.
Alright, then I will use an adversary point to take half with easygoing, so it's 10.
So,
Full under pressure, not easygoing. Sorry.
as you look at this cocoon, it's a very similar you have a very similar analysis. As you look at it, the face reminds you of your own, so do the length of the limbs. The body language of it, the way it rests its arms, you feel this uncomfortable empathy, and the way it's swinging slightly after being poked with the stick, the way it's turned itself up and then turned around to look at all of you on one hand, the length of the fingers, you can somehow just instantly match it with your own.
Why does it look like me?
I look over.
She
I thought
is backing up now.
I thought it looked. It looked. Wait. Is it still moving?
Oh, also, as Casey swings into frame, a fourth card drops from inside the bandages into the hand, and it catches it.
I'm gonna, now that they're like saying it looks like me, I think it looks like me. Jazz is gonna take a good look at it.
DC 6 brains.
That's an 8.
Same deal as everybody else. You can decipher that. Same height, same length. It's uncanny.
Weird.
I will crouch down in front of Algernon and in a hushed, whispered conversation, ask Algernon if they have anything that is slightly flammable amongst their scout possessions.
Also, in the shack, you guys do see nightshade, piled up in one of the jars.
Oh.
Okay. It's just, I do think we should burn it because, it'll burn really good. And it's just we need stuff in there.
Noticing the nightshade while they're having this conversation, Jazz goes in to try to quickly nab it.
I go with her. As when I see this happening,
they are reckless.
DC.
And we don't notice, and we burn down the shack with you doing it.
Yeah, I'm tailing her right in.
DC 10 flight for Jazz.
There's no way.
There is a specific reason.
No, I know. I expected a flight roll. I just
Algernon.
That's a 4, so I get it explodes.
But be prepared. That's not prepared. And as he's saying this, did it not explode? 3.
I got another 4.
Oh,
nice.
8.
So 10 total.
Okay.
Nice.
Wow.
On the D4. That was pretty good.
So, the way exploding dice works is most of the time it isn't under your own power that you succeed when it explodes that hard, so to speak.
Okay.
So, I will say this is just that you reach for the jar, and it's not a hand reaching towards you. You just suddenly feel yourself like the world is bending in as if space is pulling forward. You are falling towards this body, this thing laying there in the shack. Your whole body suddenly starts tipping without you expecting it. Your hand is around this jar, and then Kevin suddenly just pulls you back. And you have the jar in your hand.
If I may, instead of Kevin pulling me back, I think... So they've grabbed the jar, they start to feel this feeling, and then they're almost about to go in when unnoticed above us there was an owl that it was hanging out.
Oh.
And everybody in the graveyard hears a loud hoo. I can't do a good hoot. Somebody else, maybe. But that shakes Jazz out enough that they quickly scurry back.
All right. Yeah.
As soon as Algernon has like got the fact that she's coming out, he like turns to Casey, and very like squarely nods, and he tugs off his neckerchief. And as he's tugging off his neckerchief, he's digging in his bag because, despite the fact that he's 10, he does have his own lighter, and he is lighting that neckerchief up. And it's polyester because this is the fucking 90s, and that shit goes.
Okay.
Oh.
I think at the same time, Casey's like lighting her whole match. She's got like a hotel matchbook because they went to a hotel bar in the college town. So she's just got a matchbook from that. And she lights the whole thing up, and it's just like this smell of sulfur.
As much as that, you probably think that should be the case. Casey's not old enough to drink in the States.
They weren't there to drink. They were there for other reasons that young college women might be at a bar. But thank you for your assumption that it was for drinking purposes. It was not.
Woman. This is...
Yeah. Look, Jazz's sister has a particular set of tastes, and those tastes are old white men. That's not my fault. But yeah, she has a matchbook, and she lights the whole thing up, and I feel like at the same time we just like toss this at the thing.
Yeah. Algernon has the forethought to like, and this probably speaks really badly to like the things he spends his spare time alone in the woods doing, but he like loads his kerchief with a rock, somehow manages not to burn himself, and I don't know if that needs to be a roll. Would that be like a grit roll or a fight roll?
I will say this is a fight roll. Fight.
Okay. Yeah. So, this is gonna go great, let me tell you, because he has a DC 6/5.
Is it a fight roll for Algernon to put the rock in the thing, or to throw
and like
the
toss
thing?
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
FC 4.
Do you have
I'm
more
gonna
than
roll-
a D4 in fight?
I have a D6 in fight.
I'm gonna roll this. I'm gonna
Guess where
roll
my
this
D4
thing's
is at.
wrong. I'm gonna have to improv
Is
whatever
this
this. So
Is this a planned action? Because we like sat there talking about it.
I suppose. Yeah, planned action. Okay, you said you got a 4?
Mhm.
Okay, it opposes you with a 6, so it...
I will, can I use adversity tokens? Because it's a
Yes.
planned action. As Algernon is about to throw it, Casey like looks down and is like, well, that's gonna miss because you're a little uncoordinated nerd kid. And after tossing her pointless matchbook that really doesn't do anything because it burns up by the time it gets there, she like redirects your arm for a second and says, you should aim there. And I'll use, it got a 6, and you got a 4. I'll use 6 adversity tokens.
Wow.
To make you have a 10.
Holy shit.
10? 7. Oh, so you have an 11. That's the one up, right?
Describe what this shack looks like as it burns down. That's up to you, Charlie. What does this look like?
So like this like tiny little like polyester neckerchief that has been with Algernon since he started as a scout. And so it's like gotten slightly grimier and grimier. Launches into this right at the base of this creature. And at first it looks like it's just gonna like fizzle out. But then it catches a few of the like wolfsbane that have been like fallen to the ground, maybe from whenever Jazz like fell out of there. And it sizzles. And then when it hits that cocoon, I'm assuming that in video game logic and web, it just whoop. Yeah, exactly. And Algie's like staring at it, and he's like, my neckerchief.
Hardcore, kid. Hardcore.
I look over at Jazz and I'm just like, I guess we don't need to lie to his mom about playing with fire in the cemetery. That was prophetic.
Can I maybe say that this is like the exact moment that Elliot just happens to walk up?
All of you, as this fire begins to burn, not like the demon scream, but more like a small teenager scream, hear this thing shatter throughout at you can hear something screaming in pain from being on fire. Like it is burning to death actively inside this. Algernon, whatever feeling of safety or comfort you can hear immediately turns to you as like furious hostility. Whatever this thing was watching over you here has turned its gaze on you, and it has shifted from something warm and welcoming to raw and unfiltered rage.
Cool.
So
All of you can immediately feel this too. Whatever gaze was on you has immediately changed gears, save for Elliot. Elliot, you are fine. You can feel this thing's attention directed entirely at this fire that has just started in that area.
okay, so like, oh man, so he's gone from like warm and fuzzy to like really in trouble with mom and dad.
It feels like mom and dad aren't angry at you. It feels like whatever warm presence here is actively dying.
Oh shit.
You fucked up.
Algernon, I think because of his
monster.
warm and fuzzy feeling, and then like the sense of panic, and then just like, you know, general like scout like guilt, is going to charge like try to get past Casey and get into that cabin.
What?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like he's just like
You're gonna
run.
dodge 3 different teens trying to grab you.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna do it, but I think he has to try.
Yeah, I
Swear to
try
God,
and
if this
grab
little
the
shit makes
small
their flight
child that literally the day previously Casey probably promised Mallory to look after. Your other twin was being a fuck. Like they didn't have a conversation.
Nice.
Everybody's gonna roll me Braun versus Algernon's flight. As a snap decision.
I'm gonna say that Elliot, because he just walked up and has no clue what's going on, he's not gonna actively try and stop.
You're gonna try and throw Algernon into the fire
Yeah, I'll
if you
do
grab it. So we
just
can't
like
let that
what?
happen either.
But yeah, Elliot's
You allow
just
like a little boost so that he can jump into the fire.
Elliot's
All
just like, what the fuck is happening right now?
All right, can I for this one, because he is fully panicked, normally flight, but if you know how little kids sometimes like get grabbed and they'll just like pull their arms straight out of their sockets to get out.
Yeah,
Can I roll grit for this?
you can.
Okay.
I like that.
Don't
I like that
fucking
Casey's not gonna have
dismember
to tell.
yourself.
I do like that Casey's not going to have to tell Algernon's parents that he perished in a fire that he started. That's on Kevin.
All right. So it helped a little, maybe. Like I have only a D10 in flight, and I have a D12 in grit, so we'll see.
Oh, did you roll a 10 on?
But it was 10 on a 12, so it doesn't get me explode. Like I chose grit. Flight. It was exploded.
What did Casey get?
With the +1 that we get for
4, 5.
being teens.
You
also
beat
5.
everybody on this.
Amazing.
We all rolled like and got a 5.
Oh Jesus!
Good job, Algernon.
So I will describe this. As you run into this shack, you expect hostility or anger, but whatever this thing is in the bandages, it is like actively burning. The bandages are covered in fire. It seems to actively wrap its arms around you, and the fire on the bandages almost instantly extinguishes. And the fire that begins to coil all around it, you can smell the flesh burning, but you don't feel the heat against your own skin. And this thing seems to quiet its own screams as it holds you close enough, and the fire begins to wisp up the wood into the air. You can feel the bandages begin to burn away, and the world goes up in this hazy gray ash around you. The smell is suffocating. But this thing holds you long enough. All of you, like, do you guys want to try and rip Algernon out of the thing?
I kind of think that Casey probably immediately is like, well, I should save Algernon. So Casey will be doing whatever she can to, like, because there's no way of us being like, oh, well, he's protected by this weird cocoon thing that is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, yeah, Casey's probably trying to, like, pull him back, but isn't expecting any resistance either, so probably is failing.
Jazz is not. They're watching mostly because they're like just shocked and surprised at this point, and other people have moved forward already.
Yeah, pull under pressure so I can respond instantly.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a grit roll to see if I can push past my brain, like vapor lock on this.
Yeah.
I'll call it DC 10
I think that
Yeah.
just for myself, but
Elliot's not gonna help, but is like
Yeah.
not because Elliot doesn't like algae, but just because like you just like were in a graveyard, heard noise. It's people you know lighting a cocoon on fire. In the middle of a graveyard, you didn't expect to see
I don't
anybody.
know that you need to justify this more than the start of that.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I made my roll. I'm gonna push through. I'm gonna like whip off my jacket and like have it over my arm so like, I can throw it over algae to try to shield them from the fire and the heat that I'm expecting to be in there. And so I'm gonna rush in and try to throw the jacket over them so I can pull them out.
He's planning. Like, why he's an older brother.
So this is going to be actively already caught and almost fully on fire in seconds. Like, this is old, dry wood. This thing catches ablaze remarkably quickly. You are going to get... Both Casey and Kevin will both get burned quite badly, regardless of success or failure. I'll give that as a warning. And you are going to have against... with that, going forward, Casey and Kevin, you guys are going to roll... If you can justify another stat to try and pull them out. Otherwise, you're going to roll fight.
Yeah, you're cutting out pretty in and
You
out.
cut out
So,
a lot.
tell me what you got. Oh, sorry.
I heard
okay.
most of it except for what they were supposed to roll.
Okay, so you guys are going to need to roll fight versus this thing's brawn. If you can justify another stat to contest that, maybe, but you'd need a very good reason as to how, like, you're angling past this thing's just physically holding Algernon. Like you were trying to pull it out.
Yeah, I think Casey's not expecting any resistance, so like isn't thinking about it as anything other than just like a fight thing to just pull him out. So she's not going to do anything different.
I agree. I'll do the same thing.
I'm going to pre-give myself the adversity tokens for that fail.
And this thing is... So, like, this thing itself is on fire, but not, like, hurting algae, and somehow, like, the rest of the building is already catching flame? Or did the cocoon go out?
The cocoon is on fire, but you don't feel the heat from it. You don't even...
We need to meet or beat.
Clearing your skin, you don't feel it. You need to beat.
Meet or beat.
Tell me the rolls you get. Yeah.
Oh.
3.
Okay. What do you, Kevin? 8. Okay, you guys
8.
will need neither to beat the 15 required.
Say that one more time, Sarah.
You need to beat a 15.
And it's not from our combined rolls?
No. One of you individually needs to beat them.
Yeah, that's gonna be hard.
I have a D4 in fight, so like
Yeah, even if I spent all my adversity tokens, I would not be anywhere close.
So,
yeah.
Feel free to cut me off if this is not what you want to happen. But assuming they like can't do this and have to like back out or risk death, I think Jazz would walk up and is going to try to convince Algernon to come back out. I mean, you can say what happens first, but that's where I'm kind of going with it at this point.
Unless Algernon... Does Algernon try and get out, or are they just sort of like, this is what's happening?
I think Algernon. So as they come in, like, is it visible pretty instantly that it's unsafe for them? Like, can he tell the difference, like, that they're suffering and he's not?
Yes.
Okay, so in that case, he's just going to be like, he's just like freaked out. He's like, I'm safe, I'm okay, it's okay, I'm fireproof, and he's like trying to push them out, but he's like also trying to stay close to the cocoon, and like pulling on it. So he's just not very useful. That's Algernon in a nutshell. He's like pulling the cocoon, not burning with it, and shouting at Jazz. I mean Kevin. Yeah.
Okay. I will let you choose just straight up if you think Algernon would listen to Casey or just listen to Jazz or just remain in the safety it provides.
Shit.
I can roll if you want, and
I think
say what I'm actually going to say.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So they are like, they've been backed off. Jazz like steps towards the door, seeing like Algernon seemingly unharmed, holding on to this thing. It says, Algernon, you need to get out of there before the building goes down. You're going to die. And I can't tell your parents that you're dead. Please come out right now. So I'm going to roll. And I'm going to get a 3 on a d20.
Rip.
So that was not very good.
Oh.
She just sounds desperate. You can determine
if you think you're
what the DC was.
Surely you think you're going to not die from the burning wood on your head.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You let me know whether to add the tokens or not.
You'd have to add a fuck ton of tokens.
Actually, this is a good chance. Roll me brains against this, and I'll tell you what you learn. Or I guess what you decipher.
Who is that for?
This is for Algernon. Roll me brains. This is a snap decision.
That's a d20, and that's a whole 7.
They're so good at dice.
Better than 1.
Higher. That's higher than what Jazz got. So I'll say.
So is that an opposed roll?
You definitely think your chances are better in that staying where you are than trying to get out.
Okay. I think he just kind of babbles, and he stops paying attention to Jazz because she was so remarkably unconvincing in that moment. And he's going to say, "They're friends!" Because he's still thinking about nobody else is aware of this feeling of protection that he's got from this critter, but he's felt nice most of the time.
As Kevin and Casey attempt to pull this kid out, you guys try to go for the resistance, but it's apparent extremely quickly. That's just not happening. This thing has a tight grip, and neither of you just have the muscle mass to get through. And yeah, you can identify. It doesn't seem like Algernon is getting burned. You don't see their face starting to scar. You don't see them freaking out in a way that seems like they're in pain. And whether or not you choose to keep going and give yourself burns, that's your choice, but you just can't get them. The fire quickly begins to consume, and parts of the shack begin to collapse on top of them.
Oh, wait, I have a question. Since Elliot has the treasure hunter ability, I think that means that you just find something... Yeah, something useful. Can I spend an adversity token to find something that might help with putting out the fire?
Fire extinguisher.
Or water or something?
Normally I'd say yes, but there's no way you'd find something casually that has enough water or ability to put out a fire this point.
Worth a shot.
No faucet nearby or something like that?
Like a hose?
Yeah. There's no full hose, and that move is within reason. This is also in the middle of the night in the fog in an unfamiliar place.
That's fair.
There's snow on the floor?
Oh, there is no, not right now. I want to be generous, but this is one of those times where like
Fine.
finding a big bucket full of water wouldn't even be enough to make a dent, you know?
Oh,
Yeah, it
okay. So
probably
this is
wouldn't
like a
matter either.
huge ass fire.
Yeah, no, like it's a
Um,
wood shaft
so-
beginning to burn.
Gotcha.
So have like are Casey and Kevin like burnt now? Have we like sustained burns at this point?
Yeah, you've got minor burns on your arm and your hands.
Casey's like backed off and is like kind of probably flopped sitting on the floor, like the adrenaline and the exhaustion of like running into a fire that was like taking oxygen out of her lungs. She's like heaving breaths in and says to basically whoever will listen, I mean, he kind of looks fine, right? It's also
Yeah, but
I have a
what
shift
happens
that
when the
started like
roof?
20 minutes ago.
What happens when the roof caves in? Even if he's fireproof, that's still going to hurt him or kill him.
Well, he'll be in an oven that he's somehow protected from. I don't know. He's not coming out, is my thing. Like, we tried. It was like he was chained there. You tried. Very convincingly.
I'm gonna, with this notion, I'm gonna go for a different tact and turn back into the shack and say, "Spirit, thing, body, whatever the fuck you are, I need you to let Algernon go. He needs to go. You need to tell him to go."
Or both of you come out of the thing that's about to fall and kill you.
I want you to roll me charm.
Okay.
I'll say this is a pretty high DC 15. For a lot of reasons. A, you guys just lit this thing on fire. So that's why it's DC 15 to convince it to do anything.
Come on.
Um,
I don't want to seem like I'm fucking you over here. I feel like this is.
And the fact that Algernon that ran into a burning building and told it that they're friends lower that DC any. Because he did shout that they're friends earlier.
I will make it a DC 13, but this is a significant.
Also, admittedly, Algie is the one that set it on fire.
Yeah, not Jazz.
Everyone else is standing.
No, that's a point against your favor. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna keep it at a 15.
Okay. I fail then. I got a 10, so and I only have 4 adversity tokens, which it's probably a snap
Let the
decision.
kid die. He wants to die in a this is out of character. He wants to die in a fiery inferno. Let that happen. Let it fuel your music going forward.
No, can't.
So there's I think that's the last thing you guys can try. As finally the beginning of the shot collapses on top, and you see the feet seemingly give out. And instead of falling directly, you see this thing catches itself quickly enough to have both feet land on the ground, and it wraps both of its arms around Algernon, and the bandages seem to come undone.
Shit.
Algernon, you feel the bandages begin to completely wrap around you, and there's no struggle, there's no feeling of like you're running out of air. And inside this cocoon, past the others who only hear the raging inferno of wood crackling and the inferno of fire as a whole, you hear the soft voice of a mother trying to hum a song to you.
Oh.
I'm sure it's fine.
You can't make out past whatever. This feels most reminiscent of a simple nursery rhyme. You don't understand the language. You don't even know if it's getting the words out right in whatever language it's trying to be. But it's the tone of voice, the slowness of the words, the hum behind it all. And after a few minutes, this is a pretty small shack, and the wood burns fast. And a few minutes later, you guys see what looks to be in the ashes as the smoke begins to lift Algernon. You feel the bandages begin to furl and unwrap, and you are fine, completely untouched.
And is there anything remaining of the creature?
You are the creature.
The body
now.
is completely gone.
God. Oh no.
What is? So Algernon felt safe when he was wrapped in the bandages. How does he feel now? Like he's being stared at still, or like it's gone?
whatever presence is there is completely left.
Despite the fact that he is physically safe, the absence of that like presence and the fact that he's like just like surrounded by ashes, he just kind of like he sinks to the ground and he's like still kind of like traumatic looking for his neckerchief, and he's just muttering about his neckerchief, but it's really not the neckerchief.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think Casey. Firstly, I feel like it's super morbid that we watched 2 minutes of what we thought was a 10-year-old just burning to death. But I assume that none of us could do anything like really to think about it beyond that. But upon seeing Algernon, Casey will like run over and like try and pick Algernon up and pull him like away from the ashes and stuff.
He doesn't resist. He is like, he's still muttering like about his neckerchief, but like as his kind of like hands scramble, it's like every muscle has gone limp. And like once he like exits like that line where he had tossed the neckerchief through, and you said he feels like the spirit is left, like it's absent. Can he distinguish that from it being dead or having walked away?
I will say you could have felt it leaving actively as the fire began to consume the ship.
Okay. I think in that case, he definitely bursts into tears, but it's like when you've really disappointed somebody. Those are the kind of tears. Like it's just incredibly obvious that he's not crying out of grief. He just feels bad. He's been a bad kid.
I also, this is more of a question. This thing, it burned down in like 2 minutes, so this is like, it burned abnormally quickly.
Yes.
Okay, it was like, okay, got it. I just wanted to clarify. I think, I mean, Jazz definitely would have stuck around because, like, at least we can get his body or something. But while that was happening, they did start to crush up the Night's Bane. And they were going to, like, put it on somebody to try to, like, I don't know, do something. But they have it crushed now. And just in case, they're going to sprinkle, like, as this is happening, they're going to sprinkle some on Algernon and start and do a quick incantation in as good of a Spanish as they can muster to try to protect this small child.
Kevin just absolutely looking at Jazz sideways, knowing she doesn't speak Spanish. And her abuela has been bitching her out for years. And it's like, really? Now you speak Spanish?
The accent's not that terrible, but like it's clear that this is the first time they're saying these words out loud.
Should get Elliot to do our witchcraft, really.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to have an effect. I just wanted to do that.
The wind still seems to carry the hum of a nursery rhyme to all of you.
Okay.
Can we not be in this graveyard? Why did you?
Yes.
If you like bite
Yes, we
Satan,
can.
why you brought a 10-year-old to a graveyard? And like sees Elliot standing there and is like, "Oh, hi, Elliot."
I think Elliot will
When
give
did
us
you
quick
get
leave.
here?
I think, yeah, Elliot's just gonna say, I could ask you the same thing.
Okay, we can all answer the question.
Is your bike in like frame?
I'll say that it's like probably not quite in frame unless you can see like where Jeremiah's house is, because I feel like it would be like right out front.
Jeremiah,
Oh, yeah.
like
Jeremiah's
building
just like
versus
there that we burnt down a shack. Right,
Jeremiah comes out with a shotgun, and that's when we all die.
Uh-oh.
Well,
Actually,
okay.
yeah, I was going to say, Jeremiah does come out. You do hear the door crack open with the swoop as it
Fuck.
slams against the wood of the cabin.
All right,
And you hear
let's-
stomping, and then you hear a shell crack out of a shotgun, and it get pumped. And you hear somebody furiously stomp
Hold on, there's
towards the area.
the cabin can't be that close because there's no way we just ignored this guy's cabin when we were at the graveyard,
Y'all were
and
a
that
little
there was
busy,
a whole
though.
party here the other day. That
It's
doesn't
far
make
away.
sense.
There's no light.
All right, let's leave.
There's a cab far away, but the reason he didn't get here until he's been walking for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is a small enough cabin.
Sure.
Also,
That's
the
fine.
super thick fog would have.
No, it's fine. Jack, go ahead.
We should leave. There's 2 cars.
Yeah.
She kind of looks at Kevin and says, you can take him home, right?
Well, it's probably for the best since we were the ones who picked him up.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a shift that I have to go to pay for things like car stuff. No reason. But anyone that wants to come hang out at a radio and watch me push buttons, you're welcome to.
We should all talk, shouldn't we? If we all wound up here.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe tomorrow in the morning. We don't have school, right?
I have not slept for the last 36 hours. For reasons that you can ask your sister.
Tomorrow in the afternoon?
That definitely sounded like Casey was just like, I have been fucking your sister for the last 36 hours.
It's just
Yeah.
Is that
Casey was
most
responsible for making sure that Jazz's sister didn't get like something horrific happen to her with her hookup.
just the most marathon sex on earth. Just insane.
Jazz's sister is not like
going
that.
to be walking bow-legged for a week
I've
and a
already
half?
decided, Andrew.
In
You don't know
either
what Jazz's
respect.
sister's like.
I do know what they're like. They're not like that in either respect.
No, it's
They
probably
might have gotten wasted. I will
it
accept
was
that.
one of their other friends, I think, has just been a problem since going to college. And
I'm
all
also
were
fine if
"Oh, we gotta
Casey
hook up."
just says that, even if it's not true.
Yeah, Casey would rather say something bad about your sister than like one of their mutual friends who doesn't have like defendant there. But yeah, if you're happy to take Algernon home, Casey will say to Elliot, I can give you a lift. You can throw your bike in the back of my dad's car.
I think Elliot just nods. I don't think he has any words
Wait
to
a
explain
minute.
how he feels.
Hold on. Casey, you were heading to work. Elliot, why are you out here? We were out here to get Nightsbane. Or sorry, Wolfsbane.
Trying to think if Elliot would just come clean. Yeah, I think he's just gonna say I needed to talk to the groundskeeper, as if it's very matter of fact.
About what?
Yeah, I think Elliot's just gonna go for it. He points at Jazz and says, I saw you at the bookstore earlier. You were buying some sort of book about magic. I asked the owner. It's not just like some joke book, it's serious stuff. She told me that I should talk to the groundskeeper to learn more about magic in this town, which I know sounds absurd, but clearly something is going on here.
Why didn't you ask me?
I think Casey kind of defends Elliot and says, can we not judge the person that came here by themselves on their own free time? Can we judge the 2 people that brought a 10-year-old in the middle of the night to a graveyard?
Algernon's just still crying.
In our defense, the 10-year-old goes and hangs out in the woods alone every night. Ostensibly, they're safer with us than they are just fucking about in the woods.
The only reason why
glow
we
stick and a
brought
hat.
You 2
him,
make him fireproof?
the only reason we brought him was because he said that he knew where the Wolfsbane was here. Otherwise, I would have just come alone.
Why not do it during
Alone?
the day or the afternoon?
Oh, with Kevin. Same thing.
Thank you. Wait,
because
you feel alone when you're with me?
I mean, I don't know. I was worried about a demon showing up again, and I wanted to be more protected as soon as possible. That's why. Just that little thing.
I'm
I
just
guess we're all
saying.
forgetting.
I'm just saying, maybe if we're going to question people's choices, Elliot being here is not the one that should be questioned.
Elliot is
I
vigorously
don't-
nodding.
I do not care why he was here. I care that he saw me in a bookstore and decided to ask the clerk what I was reading. That's weird, man. You understand that? Like, not in like a paranormal way, like in an average weird way.
I
I
will add
think
it to the list
Algernon.
of things that I'm categorizing as weird, and it will be near the bottom.
I think Algernon's like instinctive like feeling of threat when he's around Elliot, while it's like calmed a little because he saw Elliot get his like shit rocked almost by a not demon. He is going to like look up, and he's like tear streaked, and his glasses he's taken them off because crying, and he goes, Elliot, Elliot, and he like pulls on his glasses. And yeah, he is weird. And then he just like
I
crumples
think
Alright,
again.
Elliot, do you want to come hang out with me at work?
Elliot looks extremely relieved to not be in this conversation anymore and says,
We're going to talk about this later. Don't you worry. Along with everything else.
Hmm.
I think,
Um,
yeah, Elliot has very bad like communication skills, so I think Elliot is basically like pseudo fleeing at this point, just because he's like, this is awkward.
Roll
People
flight.
are mad at me.
Yeah, and Casey has quite good social skills. So it's like, yeah, this is not a thing that we should resolve tonight with these two people that nearly got a kid killed. Like,
Jazz, can you roll me DC 8 brains real quick?
Sure.
Oh shit.
This is for if you know what just happened.
No. I could make it. I got a 6, but I'm not gonna spend the points.
Okay.
I'll
You
just
know
take
what?
them.
You know whatever you did when you set that fire and what just happened also probably left some bad juju in the area. Like whatever you did, there is going to be a consequence for it beyond what has immediately happened. That is how magic works.
Whoa.
You know that.
alright, I think Casey and Elliot
We're
are
leaving.
walking towards Casey's car.
Yeah,
Already.
we all leave.
Yep.
Elliot, you've probably never ridden in Casey's car, but Casey would never offer you like the ability to drive her car. But you're 16, so you can drive, and she'll happily give her dad's keys to anybody. She'd let Algernon drive if she really was like in the right mood.
So she wants
She'll
Elliot to
offer.
drive?
Yeah, because I think she knows that Elliot probably doesn't have a car that he can drive frequently.
I am actually gonna say that Elliot doesn't know how to drive. No one taught him. So
Poor kid's life.
yeah, I think that he's just gonna. I don't think he's gonna say that. I think he's gonna say something like, it's been a long night. Why don't you drive?"
The one who's been up for
Can I-
36 hours.
Can I roll something to like intuit that it might be that he never like had the opportunity to learn to drive?
I think you're intuitive and you have a D20 brains, you just know.
Yeah, Casey like was offering you the keys and does that thing where like on the key ring she flips it back into her hand. She goes, "Okay, I can take you driving sometime if you want when I get my car back."
He
This
looks
is not good.
embarrassed for half a second that she figured out that he was lying so quickly, but then just nods.
Yeah, we drive to the radio station and I do the bare minimum amount of work, which is I push the buttons, and there's like one time I play the same song twice because we liked the song while it was playing. It's just like really, really bad work, but nobody listens to this radio at 1:30 in the morning when like the actual guy is not here.
You do get a call at the radio station that night.
I'll answer it. We're not really a call-in show when we don't have a host, but
You hear a smooth, silky voice that in the background almost sounds like somebody is crumpling burnt paper. That's the best way to describe it. And in their throat, they say very clearly, "Hey there, Casey. Long time listener."
Is this a voice that I recognize?
It is a voice you recognize.
I immediately put it to air. Like, I cut the song that we're listening to short. I tell him, but I immediately put it to air. And, what is his name I gave him? Owen?
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, Owen, you know you're meant to be on air right now."
Yeah, I'd love to be. Just one little thing, and you hear the noisemaker machine go off. Crazy circumstances lately. And he says, "I'm gonna meet you shortly. It's been a long time. Hopefully we can resolve that, though. What do you think's coming up next for music, Casey?"
And
There's a
Casey,
hint.
there's a hint of what? Sorry.
There's like a hint. You can hear a hint of panic behind his voice.
What the fuck?
Casey, just full, scrambling, trying to think of a song. Music's her thing, and she just, can't think of a song. And she's like, "Oh, I think it's probably time for even more Spice Girls. Like, we play every hour."
That's right. Yeah. That's right, Casey. Well, you know how this radio station gets late at night, folks. We get crazy, and you hear another noisemaker machine go off like bells and whistles.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see you soon. Can I spend an intuitive point to ask, if I think the crackling sound in the background is fire?
Mm-hmm.
Or is the crackling sound in the background fire? Because I think it's not a do I think thing.
I think with intuitive, other people might mistake it as fire. You're a little bit more keen on that. It sounds like the back of a fireplace. A gas burning place.
I think Casey says, I was wrong. It's not Spice Girls. It's Deep Purple. And plays Smoke on the Water next.
Oh God.
Nice.
I was going to play
Excellent pivot.
The Doors. If it's not a real fire, that doesn't work as well. Does the line cut?
The line seems to stay on, but he doesn't say anything more.
I'll leave the line on till the end of the show, just in case. So, he can talk over the music if he does say something, or if we hear anything. And then Casey immediately pulls the notebook out while the next song is playing, and writes down as much as she can remember of the conversation with Elliot's help.
Elliot heard this whole interaction? Or...
Yeah, I mean, I assume Elliot's in the booth with Casey.
Okay, yeah.
In the booth looking at an empty, dark, studio.
I will say you do hear occasional noises coming from the microphone.
From the microphone?
From the receiver on your end. How much you can decipher? Do you want to roll brains to try and pick up on what you're hearing exactly?
Yeah, I think so. I think Casey is always trying to do that.
Elliot will try as well.
Okay. This one is going to be a little bit higher, DC 11, just above. That isn't me trying to be this isn't a place for skill data or whatever applies.
I don't have skill data. That was a 16.
I got a 3.
That is indication of us as a brains duo.
Elliot's brain is a D10, so not
Oh, I
awful,
thought you
but
were like.
yeah.
Oh, it's your charm that's bad, right?
Yeah, that's the worst one.
You can hear the sound of, very specifically, if you listen in super closely, your ears can pick up on the sound of running water in the background too. It's distant, it's very distant, and it sounds like it's a big source of running water far in the distance. The other thing you can pick up is what sounds to be like the sound of a knife hitting like a knife block, the sound of the metal thumping against the wood, the thunk, 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 thunk. And the faint sound of not a conversation, but voices in the background. You don't know if they're talking to themselves, someone else, if it's a group. You can almost decipher voices. You can also hear the shifting sound of wood moving against carpet.
Did you say wood against carpet?
Yeah, wood moving against carpet.
Casey, like every time a new thing starts, she like takes a little bit of time to try and work it out, and like says to Elliot, "This sounds like a knife hitting wood, right?" And like is verifying everything through Elliot once she points it out. All right. Well, we're going to have more to talk about when we catch up with the others. I'm not. It's weird that they took Algernon there, right? Yeah. Also, it is creepy that you were watching Jazz. I just want you to know. Casey like connects the dots that you just said. You spend a lot of time at a bookshop, and it really doesn't suit anything about the way that you portray yourself to the world. But you'll. Huh. Well, yeah, and I guess we'll like go to the end of the shift, and then Casey will drive Elliot home. Given that they live on the same street anyway, pretty easy.
What does the car look like when it's full of Jazz, Kevin, and Algernon? Do they talk?
I think we're talking, especially like there is snacks in the back, and I've probably gotten algae, like a fucking chocolate bar of some sort out of the back. It's okay. So just talk to us. Just talk to us. Tell us what happened. Tell us what was going on while you were in there, bud. Like driving, like kind of white knuckling it as we're coming back.
Algernon is sitting presumably on the back middle seat, and he's got his like knees brought up to his chest, and he's just kind of like gnawing despondently at that chocolate bar.
Is your seatbelt on?
You know, man, I don't
I will
think
pull
he
this
thought
car
about
over.
it.
You will have your seatbelt on.
So
You are not becoming a little fucking missile in the middle of my car, especially sitting in the middle seat when you would just put your tiny ass through the windshield. That's not happening. So
Algernon's just like disgruntled. He's like plugging his seatbelt in, and he's still got the candy bar, so it probably like marks a streak on the seat behind him. And he doesn't even notice. And he's like, I'm okay. I'm buckled. Sorry, Kevin.
it's okay.
It's just like you felt it, right? Like I did something wrong. Didn't you feel
yeah,
it? And he looks at Jazz.
That place felt weird from the get-go, but yeah, when you threw the fire, it did feel weirder, like pain, but I don't know why that prompted you to walk into the fire.
Or how you didn't get burned?
It liked me, and then I made it mad. But I guess it forgave me.
It didn't like us from the get-go, or at least it was on the bad side of ambivalent.
I mean, at first it was just watching me like it always does, but I mean, I forgot that I like the cemetery a little bit. Like, it's just, I
Like
was just walking with you, and he doesn't know, like, he doesn't pick up the connection, but he's like, it started to feel nicer the further we got in there. I don't know why.
You said
All right.
like it always does?
Well, yeah, like, it watches you, but, like, I don't know, it got better.
Why did he? I feel like this is something you should have brought up before we went to the cemetery. Like, I didn't know
What?
there was a thing, like an actual thing that watched you there.
I told you before. I said the problem with the lake is that, I fell in, and I told you the thing about was that something watches you. I did say it. I did, right, Kevin?
You fuck, he did. He did. We fought a
Right, but
fucking
like,
demon and then we glossed over the whole. Hold on, do you deal with this shit like? Has this happened to you before? Like
I thought
this
you
I've
just
never
kind
been
of
in a
shit.
burrowing building before. No, not at all.
that like
I
the
pull
cemetery
over.
was creepy. Not like that there was a like something that you had seen and felt before.
Well, I mean,
I've never interacted with any of this crap. So like, come on.
Hold
just
on,
like stuff. It's like,
Jazz. He's scared. Just hold. I pull over.
I know.
Just like put the shit in park. All right, and just like turn around and like I'm looking at both of them and just all right, Algie. What happened when you fell in the lake?
Sarah. I think it's on my character sheet as scared of depths of the lake. So do I have memories of what happened, or...
I think you remember falling in, and I think you remember lights everywhere. These bright yellow lights, and you remember crawling out. And I'll let you roll brains to see if you can recall any. If you try to dig deep. Say this is DC 6.
Well, it's a d20, so hopefully... 7.
Before you couldn't really decipher what it was, but when you were in that lake, as you crawled out finally, your vision was hazy as your glasses had just fallen off. But you can vaguely remember the images, the sound of buzzing and the sound of bugs. It was fireflies that were dredging up in the water with you.
Okay. So yeah, Algie just stares for a while, like, into the middle distance, and he goes, Oh, that's funny. Luciferase really shouldn't work in the lake either. It was kind of cold then too, and bugs don't do well when they get all wet because the water gets into their pores and it drowns them. Just like if you put your face... What?
Luciferase?
Yeah, the stuff, like the lightning bugs, like it was just like the ones we saw in the shed. That's the stuff that makes them glow, and it shouldn't have been working in the winter. It can't.
You saw, and I'm like looking over at Jazz now, like fireworks were there when you fell into the lake.
Fireflies.
And yes, sorry, thank you. I'm getting my seasons mixed
It's
up.
okay, Kevin. We got it.
It's been a day. Week? It's been a week. Fireflies were both
In
places.
But there weren't any fireflies when the demon attacked. Not that I remember.
Not that we saw.
It was cold though, and wasn't it cold earlier?
Yeah, but
Unseasonably
it's also
cold.
December.
Right, but it
Yeah.
just rolled
Maybe.
in like that.
Maybe they're connected. But I mean, I don't see how it. I guess it just doesn't tie back to the demon. That maybe I don't know.
So what? So you've come to the graveyard before, and you felt safe. You felt.
Well, yeah, but out song, and like we do this all the time. We have to clean it up, like I said. But I always feel watched. But then usually, I guess it's not so bad. But again, I really wasn't even singing my scout song this time, so I don't. And I mean, fire, like you would have thought that would have been a big problem. And he just trails off.
Maybe that thing wasn't bad. I mean, the
No,
nursery
it
rhyme
wasn't.
was
That's what I'm
creepy
saying.
as fuck, but
It wasn't creepy.
and now I can't. She tries to think back. She's like, I didn't think to really look at the tarot cards. And tries to remember any of the tarot cards at all, which she only glanced at briefly.
Roll me brains DC 4 because you saw them recently.
Okay. Fresh in the memory. Come on. So I got a 4. Am I going to get a significant benefit for going up? I would have to go up to a 9, right?
Yeah, you won't get a significant benefit going all the way to 9 now.
Okay, it's fine then. I don't want to spend all my things just for nothing.
So each of the cards were drawn in sequence. The first was the tower. And if you were viewing it from the angle it was pointing towards you, it was the tower upside down. Second was the world, drawn right side up. And then the third was the magician, drawn right side up. And as soon as Casey entered, the fourth card slid down from the bandages and into the arm. And that card drawn was specifically drawn right side up.
What was it?
As a moon, drawn right side up.
And what was the third one?
The magician.
The magician.
Okay, so there was a tower, an upside down tower, a depiction of the world right side up, a magician, like an old dude, with robes and shit, and then a moon. Okay, not having Google with them, they're going to just check and see if the Book of Incantations happens to have like a tarot glossary. It doesn't. I'll just say it doesn't, but that's what they're doing because there's no other thing that would help them. And I don't think they know tarot off the top of their head.
I think out of the corner of his eye, like Algie starts like squinting at Jazz. He's like, "Some old guy with robes. Like, are you sure it wasn't just a rabbi?"
No, it was like like a magician or a wizard or something, or maybe a philosopher. I don't know.
Kevin hasn't
That
had
guy
enough
saved
cultural
me.
sensitivity training to participate here. But we know people who do tarot. It's a small town. We have to know someone who does tarot.
We're teenagers. One of our friends does tarot cards. Like they're into
Right,
that
100%.
shit.
But do they do it well? Like
That's
I
true.
remember the 16-year-old.
Nobody does tarot well.
I think there's
It's
one
like
person.
hula-hooping.
I think there's one person you can think of off the top of your head that knows how to do tarot. You can invent somebody, or I can give an NPC to you. I'll give you that option.
I think it would be cool if Kevin's sister knows tarot pretty well.
Oh, son of a bitch!
Yes. I maintain.
And I'm just sitting here. God,
she has at least one nose piercing if she knows tarot.
yeah, and like Jazz, I'm guessing that you're like, well, there's nothing in the book. I guess we'll have to ask. And I'm just looking at you like, no.
She's the only one, man. Come on. We have to. We'll drop the kid off first. And by the way, I don't know why my addled brain took you with, but Algernon, you're staying home next time. We're not bringing you with. That's my bad. And though I tried to defend it against KC because I felt attacked in that moment, you're not coming next time. Got it?
I would just like to point out at this juncture, and like his like elocution has he's clearly calmed down. I would just like to make it known that at this juncture, in 2 events, the first one was my science fair, and you really couldn't have conceivably kept me home from that science fair. And maybe if I'd just been on my own and hadn't met you guys, I would have been eaten by a demon. And in the second affair, which admittedly I could have done better, it liked me.
How
Just saying.
early
Roll
did
a
they start
charm
training
check.
y'all to be lawyers?
All right, charm. What do I have for charm?
This
I don't
is-
think I've ever done charm.
I'm not gonna do an opposed roll. I just want to know, like, what you get
Hold on. I'm doing a D8, but I have +1 because I'm a child.
with the knowledge that I am rebellious.
Yes.
Or no, that only works the other way on
No, it works against
adults.
persuasion. Oh, it works against me.
Yeah.
I have
think
a
it's-
5.
Oh, is it against both? I thought it was on you and against adults.
That's
For
what
a
I
kid-
thought.
Okay.
For kids, I specifically have. I can pull it up here.
What was the roll?
So rebellious. Add +3 to rolls when persuading or resisting persuasion from children,
Oh, from both. Okay, got it.
and then add +3 to rolls when resisting persuasion to adults, but not persuading adults.
Got it. Okay. So both on kids, one on the other.
Yep.
What was the roll? Sorry.
It's a 5. It's definitely a
For
fail.
you, that's pretty good. I'm gonna say they're like, we'll discuss. You have to come to the group meeting because you have to. I guess we'll talk about this more.
I'm deep. I'm in deep shit with the rest of you, I think.
That was the cutest. Like, Kevin wants to, like, correct you on the profanity, but, like, yeah,
Yes.
the car's a safe space. You can...
We are indeed in deep.
turn around, buckle my own seatbelt.
We go to Kevin's
You guys
house.
hungry?
Yeah.
I could go for some. You think Mickey
Starving.
D's is open?
I could use a burger and a shake.
I really want some French fries.
On it.
Um,
And I think as y'all are arriving there, like Algie like just pulls out his billfold and he just
Fucking kid.
automatically there's actually something kind of like not great about it because he immediately passes over. He like listens to everybody's order, listens to the speaker, and then he counts out the money for everyone down to the change and passes it over to
so
He's
Jazz.
got
Um,
more cash in his wallet than Kevin has.
Yeah.
this is a good time. So Algernon, as you're looking through your pockets and looking through your wallet, you find a 5th card tucked away in there.
Oh, eat my entire ass.
All right. What is it?
And just like so if he pulls it out, does it change the orientation?
Seemingly the cards, as you pull it out, it's one of those things where like it's slightly supernatural. The way you pull it out when you finally look at it, that's the orientation it was meant to be drawn in.
Okay.
So, the 5th card, as you pull it out from your pocket, is the Hanged Man.
Oh, that's not good.
I'm sure.
Is this like a graphic tarot set or is it like really pretty? What does it look like?
It's the classic, really pretty kind. Like there's one of the cards, like I can't remember, like if you like did the full set, I don't know why, but there's one I remember growing up. You can determine the quality of a tarot set by if like you look at the mermaid and like they censor her or not, you know?
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's like one of the like classic like flat color images.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
so,
like hand illustrated, obviously, with like a brush.
yeah, he's going to pull that out and he's like staring at the Hanged Man and he's like, "Oh, huh. It's like it said goodbye." And then he just like holds it up to them.
What the fuck?
And it's like he's holding it up to the mirror so like it, Kevin can see it.
And the person on the intercom is just like, I don't think we have that. What? Sorry, give us a second.
Jeff.
I think the person on the
God.
other side of the intercom is
Fucking lame.
Wait, is it the stoner from the science fair?
it is. I
That's.
think
I
Miles
said a
working-
different name, but that would be funny.
I think it's fucking Miles working nighttime sketch.
No, not
Instead
Miles.
of Jeff, I say, "Shut the fuck up, Miles."
To that end, then, can I spend an adversity token on this? That Miles is so stoned, we do this often. Like, man, we already paid, even though he's the only window.
I want to say, you do this, but I want to say, Jazz, can you roll me brains here, like DC 8?
Sure. Also, just because I didn't get it from my notes, what was the orientation?
Right side up.
Right side. I need an 8, you said?
Yes.
Great.
And then from Kevin, give me a DC 5
Hold
crit.
on. That was off. Let me roll on the table. That's a 6. I'll spend 2.
Okay. You're just getting joke information, but if you spend
Wow.
2, I'll give you something. I'll give you something of substance. First, on the side, as you're looking at this, you would know the Hanged Man probably means something different here than it's. When it's drawn right side up in conjunction with other cards, it's often going to have another meaning. But it's also significant that it was specifically in Algernon's pocket, and where you draw the card is going to carry significance.
I missed something in the middle there. Sorry, Sarah. I missed something in the middle. You said when it's drawn in conjunction with other cards, it has a different meaning. What followed?
When it's drawn in conjunction with other cards, it has a different meaning, along with like its orientation, and as well, it matters where you draw it, like the specific location. Like if you're in a car or where something else just happened, you think to note down that you were in a driveway when this happened. Also,
Okay.
you probably guessed that Miles is just humoring Kevin when he's giving him free food.
I am the official pity
You're
party
the
of this
charity
town.
case.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I am the fucking charity
Through
case.
no fault of your own.
Through no fault of my own. I work my ass off. All my money goes to the bills. I don't think Kevin knows he's the charity case, and Jazz probably works very hard to make sure he never knows.
Oh.
Also, but do you get a kids meal for Algernon?
Whatever Algernon wants.
It's up to Algernon, man.
He's
Yeah,
paid.
he wants a Big Mac. He wants a quarter pounder.
Listen, after the night we had, you want a fucking quarter pounder with cheese? You get a fucking
You want
quarter
a
pounder with
10-piece?
cheese.
You can have a 10-piece.
Algernon orders a pounder.
Well, and it's $19.99, so we can supersize that shit.
Ooh, that's right.
Yeah, he definitely gets the supersized fry, and you see him thinking and looking at everybody else, and he's like, "Did y'all get everything you want?" Because he's still holding out, he'd calculated the money, and he did not realize Kevin runs the scam on Miles every time.
It's like, no, we got this. Just wait. Pull up to the window, and when Miles asks, just be like, "No, man, we paid at the last window, man."
I give him a look like,
Completely oblivious.
You do find in the car, regardless, that Miles has seemingly packed it with 2 kids' toys, like a boy toy and a girl toy in there. And he's gave you an extra 10-piece of McNuggets.
Fuck yeah.
Algie is opening his kids' meal greedily, and when he finds both toys, his face lights up, and then he shoves them both in his pockets really quickly so that nobody can see him with this Barbie doll knockoff and make fun of him for it.
Mm-hmm.
Warms the cockles of our hearts.
And specifically, one of the packages that Jazz opens has a note in it that he's written on the back of the receipt. And it just says, "How's the demon stuff going?" ?
Miles just assumes
talk to Miles later. Is this the last scene?
Yeah, I think this is the last scene. Yeah.
Okay. I think we, as we are peeling out of the drive-thru, Jazz is reading this note. They just turn up their radio, and "Smells Like Teen Spirit" is the song that's playing, and so that's the outro music.
Andrew, can it be that one of our things is you always order the fries, I always order the shake, and you dip the fries in the milkshake?
Oh yeah,
That's
totally.
our thing?
100%.
Yeah, that's one of our things. Oh yeah.
Oh man,
It's weird how people think you're dating.
It's I don't understand, man.
Hey, I couldn't explain it to you. I'm after that sister action.
All right. Hey, are you ready to wrap up?
On that
On
note,
that note?
100%.
I think
I'm
on
after
that-
the sister action.
Smells like
Cut
Teen
there.
Spirit. I'm after the sister action. Roll credit.
Terrible.
I think the
Okay.
last image we'll cut out on is when you get to Kevin's house. Your sister has already got her tarot deck out for some reason.
Oh, fuck that.
Nice.
It's missing 5 cards. It's real weird.
Oh,
Double nice. Fantastic. All
All
right.
right.
Thanks, everybody.
See
thanks,
you next
y'all.
See you next week.